This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. And welcome to the Mac Jack and Jim Jeffco Big Football Show. Getting ready to go over all the games with you. Today we'll have on our weekly guest, Keith Angle, Robert Butler, the Philly sports guy, and we got Commander Nash coming in, one of our super fans will coming in later. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Jack. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning. I'm doing great.
All right. Great. I guess we could talk about Thursday's game a little bit if you guys all want to. Me and Jack, of course, we talked about it Friday. We haven't got Jim's thoughts on Thursday's game yet. To me, Jim, and this is real simple to me, I think the Giants are kind of their biggest enemy is last year's success, right? They jumped out to 6-1. Now they got a tough schedule. Now they're in a tough division, and now the fans are expecting them to come up and be a playoff team. And you know they're struggling right now, especially against two. Go ahead.
You guys are right, but I knew the schedule was going to be difficult for them. And that's the problem. But I still think they have a chance to make the playoffs. I think the schedule gets easier as the season progresses. They're playing their tough games in the beginning, where the Philadelphias, the Dallas are playing games that we expected them to play tougher games at the beginning, but they're not right now. I mean, and that's the thing, and that makes the difference. And I think the Giants will be fine. As the season progresses, there's some concerns, obviously, Saquon Barkley's injury and how far has Jones progressed.
Progressed or regressed. I mean, I'm not blaming Daniel Jones in large part because when you looked at the Giant offense at the beginning of the year, their wide receivers were basically overrated. I thought, Mac, you were too optimistic about their wideouts. I just didn't think they were proven or that good. Saquon Barkley's injured. That's the main weapon Daniel Jones missed against the Niners. And Darren Waller, their tight end, has been disappointing so far. Okay, we're waiting for him to get going. So Daniel Jones really doesn't have the weapons, and the offensive line is spotty. Now, I know I've been having a little fun about Thibodeau from when he first, got drafted. But Evan Neal went 7th overall. Yeah. The offensive lineman, he's been struggling. He's been a disappointment. So when you look at the Giants draft that year going 5th and 7th, what they could have had and what they wound up with.
That is true. But I think Thibodeau still has time to be a good player because I look back at some of the players that Humanero, even Michael Strahan, they struggled their first 2 years, and then they became great players. So he's there now.
Well, let's welcome Keith Angle in here because, of course, he loves talking about the Giants with us, and he's got to stop picking it with him because
Keith is gloating today because he's better with all of us. What happened to Colorado.
We'll get to that. You love to jump ahead to Colorado every time we're on here.
Keith is gloating.
We'll get to the college football. So anyway, I agree with everything you guys said. I just don't know why the Giants can't get an offensive line. They haven't got one in the last about 10 years, and maybe they'll start working on that next year. They're in their second year. I'm not going to panic. I agree with you, Jim. I think the schedule kind of evens out later on. You pick up some wins. But some of those games are going to be close, and we got to have to win those. So let's do the first thing we always do while we're here. I'm going to give you my 3 favorite teams, and you're all going to give me your 3 favorite teams. And we got Keith in here. He'll give us our underdog, too. So I'll start it off with my favorites. I got Philadelphia -5 at Tampa, New England -2.5 at the Jets, and I got Buffalo -6.5 at Washington. Jack, what do you got?
That's an easy way to get them all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I got the Bengals over the Rams. I got the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks winning today over the Panthers, covering the points there. And I got the Dolphins, even though Jalen Waddle is out, covering in their game against Denver.
Not bad, but Joe Burrows may not play Monday night. What do you got, Jim?
I'm aware of that. Yeah, I still think the Rams have played over their heads the first 2 games.
I have Tennessee over Cleveland. I have Tennessee over Cleveland. I have Green Bay over New Orleans because it's in Green Bay, and it's by 1. And then I have this is the hard one. They have the Chargers over Minnesota. I don't like that one. I'm gonna put Buffalo over Washington.
Okay, Keith, what do you got? And give us your underdog too.
I have the Eagles. I have the Seahawks. I have the Bills. Actually, I got to change my underdog because I just realized they're favored.
I didn't give you my underdog.
I just realized they're favored. What? So let me switch up here a second. Why are the Patriots favored today, by the way?
Yeah, they are.
It's too funny that I knew they were favored. I still wrote them down as my underdog. I will take as my underdog. I'm going to take the Broncos today.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey, Broncos.
How many points am I
getting
for that?
Jim, don't get nervous. Jim, don't get nervous. We give our underdogs later on in the show.
Okay.
I gotta play the theme song for that for a second.
I have to first.
You're asking how, Keith, New England could be favored over the Jets. How do you favor the Jets with Zach Wilson going against a Bill Belichick defense? Obviously, New England has to be favored in that game.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Rick. That gives a pick 'em in my mind the best way the Patriots have played, and whatever. You're right. I mean, 14 in a row too. So
that's true. That's true. So Keith, let's get to college football. Of course, the biggest story out there going in, and we can talk about them right off the rip because Colorado actually played a ranked team. They ended up playing Oregon. A lot of hype, a lot of things. Oregon comes, they go into Oregon. Oregon pretty much stomps them out. The biggest story was the Oregon coach, right? I mean, they showed clips of him over and over during the whole game, what he said at halftime, what he said at pregame. What did you think about that?
Hey, look, that's his prerogative to fire his team up, and he's not wrong about any of it. They're being, whether Deion's out there trying to get clicks, I don't think that's it. That's part of his shtick. So, it does get clicks on social media and stuff, so that's all good. But he made a great point to his team. This is about football, not about social media and public relations. And Deion's doing what he needs to do for his team, and Dan Lanning did what he needed to do for his team. And guess what? Dan Lanning's got better athletes, and he won big. That's all.
And he makes a good point. That's the truth right now. Barry Switzer told me this about college football. To win continuously or all the time, most of the time, is you got to have good defense. Right now, Colorado doesn't have they're not very good in the front, and they don't have a great defense. And that's not an excuse. That's the reality. They're going to have to get better defensively to play with the big boys. And that's just a part of it. Deion talks, Lanning talks. That's just a part of it.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And depth on both the ball, too. The line, too, Rick pointed out on my college football show the other day, one of the big differences, similar to Cincinnati against Alabama, similar, to TCU and Georgia, the lines, the size of the lines and the depth overall is a big
difference. Deion said that. He's about 9 to 7 players away, and that was the offensive and defensive line.
And guess what? He made no excuses after the game.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He said, we got a butt kick.
Yeah.
And, he's got another tough game coming up with USC. The advantage he has is they're playing in Colorado and they're playing at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a little bit of advantage, yes. But I still like USC to stomp them again. Yeah.
I mean, if Colorado finishes the year with a winning record, to me, it's been a massive success. No. But the public seems to want more. They seem to want Colorado to win every week.
They do, but let's look at reality.
It's perception versus reality. Again, if before the season, if you said they were going to win 6 games and make a bowl game, every Colorado fan would have been ecstatic. But because of the fast start and all the hype, now perspective changes. You lose a game badly. when you think all of a sudden you're going to win 9 or 10 games, which was never realistic.
Yeah, and you got to look at this too. Oregon's not going to win the Pac-12.
I don't think so.
I'm just telling you, Utah is way better. And Washington is really good, and Washington State's playing well.
And
they're not going to win the Pac-12.
Yeah, Washington. I think Washington's the best team right now, but watch out for Washington State. They had a big win at home yesterday against Oregon State.
Utah's really the best team. You know why? Because that guy does a very good job of getting the players. His defense is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you all a question. All right. Deion goes on 60 Minutes. He's all over. He's doing all these commercials. He's bringing a lot of money to school too. But I think when you're going to talk to football coaches, Jim, and tell me if I'm wrong, and not so much the media. I mean, they go back and forth. The game is played on the field. Blah blah. I mean, as what Rick's saying, the media kind of, they're the hype machine.
Yeah, they feed off of it. And that's this.
But Jim, when you're a coach and you're spending years building a program, and here comes Deion Sanders, he puts this together, he takes off, and you watch all this stuff, you've got to be a little upset. You're human. I mean, you've been building a program for 5-6 years. You've got a very good team, and here comes this guy, great player, doing things at Colorado in 1 year. And he's all over the place.
You got to look at is, and I know what you're saying, but we look at the past. Jimmy Johnson did that. He walked into Miami, and I know they had success in the past, and you've seen coaches do this in the past. Deion is loud, but he's right. He has to do this to get interest in there, because who's looking? There's a lot of those those 5 stars and those really good players. And if he can steal maybe 2 or 3 of them, that changes the whole perspective of his team. He's doing this for a reason. Yeah. And it's not bad, because that's the reality of college football now. Do you agree, Keith?
I agree 100%. I was going to say this first job was to raise the profile of this program in general, because nobody was going there. It's been a wasteland for 30 years. Yes. And
now we did have some D linemen and offensive linemen that got drafted and are still playing in the NFL. But we still had, just like Deion, we had really Awuzie, who plays for the Bengals, the kid who got Thel Witherspoon. Those were our kids.
Yeah.
And we won with them. But it's hard to get kids to Colorado.
Yeah.
And but Colorado has sold out all their games for the first time in ages. And it's the place to go to. It's a social event when they play. It's more than a football game to go to.
When Bill McCartney won
there. And this, I think that's, again, is what ticks a lot of the coaches off, because that's not the norm. The norm is you go there, you want to watch a good football game. The fans have a great time. But they don't have movie stars. They don't have these other guys coming out supporting. And it's human. Let me finish. And it's human nature. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, guys. Don't yell at me. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's human nature for old-fashioned coaches that have built programs the old school way. They're going to be a little ticked. And I think that's what the Oregon coach kind of used to his players. Hey, listen, they're in the social media. We're here to win on the field. That's all I'm saying.
He should have.
That's right. Jim said, and I said at the top, he should. He did what he had to do.
Yeah, he's doing what he has to do. But he's not an old coach.
No, he smartly did.
Old coach. He's only been there for 2 years.
Yeah,
but he's old school, Jim.
And he's got more money than He's got Nike. Got Nike.
Listen, here's the thing. You guys, you're making it sound like, let's not feel sorry for the Oregons of the world, and they're flush with money, these programs. Yes. They aren't hurting the way Colorado was.
Yes.
And Deion has done what he needed to do. And by the way,
we're not feeling sorry. We're not, Keith. Wait a minute. We're not feeling sorry for nobody. I'm saying this coach is an old school coach.
Coach is right.
Sorry, Manning is not an old school coach. He is not an old school coach.
He sure talks like one, Jim.
He's not an old school coach. He was at Georgia. He came to Oregon.
Yeah.
He's not. Don't put him in the old school coach.
So he learned.
The coach of Utah is an old school coach.
Well,
So he
I'm going to
learned-
tell you who's not an
Good.
old school coach. The biggest controversy of the day was Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach.
Yeah,
At the
10
end
players.
of the game, Ohio State had the ball on the 1 yard line, but Notre Dame only had 10 men on the field.
And
What do you do in that situation? He didn't want to take a penalty and have the ball on the half-yard line by calling a timeout, no timeouts left. So he wanted them to go from the 1 yard line. What is better to do? This is a great philosophy. Is the half-yard more important than the extra player on defense? That's a great question.
yeah, but so you can talk about that game. Before the game, Lou Holtz tells Ohio State, and he coached at Ohio State, that they weren't physical enough.
Yeah.
They would not be Notre Dame because Notre Dame has a better offensive line and they're more physical than them. And
Lou Holtz isn't affiliated with Notre Dame now, officially. So
yeah, but he was there. He coached at both schools.
He's still a big Notre Dame influencer for sure.
No question.
Huge.
All right. So we got the two games, and by the way, let's get the scores here. Oregon won 42-6. Notre Dame loses to Ohio State in a thrilling game, 17-14.
17.
Michigan beats Rutgers, key 31-7. No surprise there.
No.
Clemson and Florida State, another great game. Keith.
Great game.
Florida State. Look, Dabo. I love Dabo Sweeney, but Dabo Sweeney made some weird calls in this game. Most of all, at the end when they had a 1 yard to get, and they gave the kid a run pass option, and then he's mad he threw the ball. Don't give him the option. He blamed himself after the game. He blamed himself and the coaches for giving him an option at all, but. In the moment, he was showing on the sideline, putting up a 1. I need 1 yard. What are you doing? And he kind of threw his quarterback under the bus a little bit, I thought, on national TV.
I agree.
But, Clemson didn't play a bad football game. Florida State got away with one, I think. And listen, they haven't beat this team since, I think, 2014, Florida State. So this is a big win for them. And as I said last week with their struggles in Boston College, I thought they were looking ahead to this game. And now they've got a springboard. Now the ACC is in Florida State and Duke's hands. Who would have thought of that?
Yeah.
And Miami. Don't forget about Miami either.
Yeah, Miami's playing well.
Yeah.
And that's
Miami had a couple of decades a big run a while ago. Is Clemson in the same situation where they were a national power? And it's going to be taking them quite a number of years to ever get back to that status.
Well, the thing with Clemson right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is they don't believe in the NIL.
Exactly.
Dabo doesn't like that. And that's
or the transfer portal. He doesn't like
he doesn't like either one of them.
It's harder to get elite
in this
high
era.
school
You have to move. This is the era now. Like it or not, this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I agree. You got to be able to, especially as a coach, you got to be able to be versatile, be able to go change, or you ain't going to last too long in any sport. Texas, I thought Baylor would play a lot better against Texas, but Texas just kind of.
They got out really quick in this game, and that was the end of Baylor. Baylor's just not very good this year. That's a big, and their coach, who did a great job a couple years ago, is going to be on the hot seat if they don't start putting it together.
Yeah. And plus,
I agree.
Texas is what I just said about building your defense. Texas's defense is pretty good.
It is good.
That's the thing that's helped them. They've had some good offenses, but now they have that quality defense.
Go and not to go backwards, but that's the thing with Ohio State too. They're playing better defense than they played in a long time, and that's why they're going to be a legitimate contender here. And that's why Ryan Day was so worked up at the end of that game. I mean, I thought he was going to have a stroke on the sideline. I was worried about him for a minute.
I did too. That guy's very emotional.
Oh my God,
Penn State still undefeated. They beat Iowa 31-0. They still got to beat Ohio State, and they still got to beat Michigan, Keith.
I got it. I've said this forever. James Franklin, I'm not a huge fan of because I think he's 2-7 against those teams in his time in the Big Ten. And until you do that, I'm not impressed. You beat Iowa at home where you should. Iowa's got run out of offense from the 1940s. And,
that's just an interesting case too, Keith, because if he doesn't average 25 points a game for the year, he's gone. Brian, the son.
The
father is Kurt, the son.
Yeah. You know what? If he goes, I'm sure Kirk's gone too. He's been there a long time. He's the longest tenured coach, I think, in the Big Ten by far.
Oh, no question. And then Bob Stoops will take that job.
You think so?
Yes, because he is an Iowa. He loves Iowa.
There's a hot take.
His wife is from Iowa. I'm telling you.
I would love to see Bob Stoops back in the college game. That'd be good for the game.
Yeah.
All right. So the wife's from Iowa, so that he's got the inside. And
I've worked with him, and he loves Iowa. He wants that job. Trust me.
Keith, Georgia beats the University of American Bachelors. I think that's UAB, 49-21. Georgia still remains number one. Of course, Washington with a pretty good game against California. California never gave up. I know Washington was going to win, but California played their hearts out. They lost that one 59-32. USC in a surprising close game. Maybe looking ahead to Buffalo to Colorado. Yeah. 42.
Those Sun Devils never give up.
No, they don't.
That is a bad football team. But I'm not sure USC's improved their defense, as we were talking about with Ohio.
That is what I'm talking about. Everybody talks about this genius in Lincoln Riley. Well, the problem with Lincoln Riley is he doesn't put an emphasis on defense.
No.
And that's been his problem. And when you play the big boys, you better be able to play defense.
They brought in a couple high-profile guys on the defensive side in the transfer portal, but, until you can coach them up, it really doesn't matter, right?
No question. No question.
Let me ask you a question. The Air Force is playing pretty well. They got a really good running back, made a big run yesterday. Will a military school ever get a chance to play for say top 10 stuff enough for them? Will they ever get a chance to really get in the mix for a championship?
Doubtful, but with them expanding the playoff, it may become more likely or more possible, I should say, because you're going to have more conference champions with a chance to get in. If they should win their conference championship and be the highest ranked or one of the highest ranked conferences, then you would have a chance to play at least in the playoff. To win, I think it's kind of far-fetched the way the landscape is today. Money transfer. I mean, they can't participate in the transfer portal. It's almost impossible. So,
and they're not
maybe they can
either.
Maybe maybe the Navy and Army they can transfer. Who knows? But anyway, let's get to the Patriots and the Jets. Big game for both teams. Patriots still searching for their first win. The Jets still trying to hold it together, hoping some quarterback comes or Zach Wilson becomes better. Whatever it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good game, Keith.
I think it will be a good game. Weather will be a factor, I believe, today as well. A lot of places there's no line. I've got a line I can bet, but a lot of places there's no line on this game because of the weather. Bill Belichick has so far in his young career found a way to neutralize Zach Wilson, as he has a lot of young quarterbacks, but so has a lot of other coaches. There's a lot of weapons on this Jets team that they just cannot find a way to make use of with Wilson at quarterback. And Mac Jones, Patriots are 0-2, but they've had a chance to win both these games. They are not on Mac Jones. He's played much better this year. That's the upside of the struggles they've had on offense and getting behind early in games. I like them to win this game today and get to 1-2. But I think it should be a good football game. You're not going to see probably a lot of scoring, I don't think, on either side of the football here.
I think the Jets have to allow Zach Wilson to use his legs. And I think the whole mentality of the NFL has to be to allow quarterbacks to now run. But the quarterbacks have to be smart enough to know when to go down, not to fight for the few extra yards, unless it's extremely vital that they do so. And if that's the one thing Zach Wilson does very well, he runs very well. And if the Jets could set up a game plan around Zach Wilson running a lot, it's going to, keep New England honest and maybe allow them to hit a few more passes along the way. But if they have Zach Wilson stick to the traditional conservative game, just pound the ball, Belichick is going to, crowd the box. The Jets aren't really going to get that effective a running game. And you can't count on Zach Wilson to beat your passing.
Yeah, but if you move Zach Wilson, the problem with that, Jack, if you move him, you limit the field because he only has so much vision on him. If you move him left or right, that's where – and his best receiver is obviously Garrett Wilson. And if you can if you can control Garrett Wilson, they got problems because nobody else is stepping up.
I'm talking about design running plays for Zach Wilson.
Well, even if you design him, you got a real issue. If he gets hurt, you really got problems.
Well, you got to take a chance eventually. If he's going to be ineffective, what's the difference, really?
I don't know about that.
Maybe so.
Listen, I think that I'm not talking about running and scrambling. He's got to me, if the read isn't there, if the guy isn't there, he's got to take off and run with the football, period.
He did it effectively against Dallas.
I mean, especially
he actually did it somewhat effectively against Dallas. When he used his legs, he picked up yardage. And, then you have to count on your defense. The Jet Patriots is probably going to be a defensive struggle for the most part. And then you count on your defense. If you could grab an unexpected touchdown, it's a big difference maker.
I think there'll be a big play in the fourth quarter that'll change this game. I expect to be on the Patriots side that'll swing the balance of this game. I think it'll be very close.
I just in the rain in the field. Are they playing in? They're playing in New England. Am I right? Or are they playing in MetLife?
They're playing in Jersey. Yeah,
they're playing at MetLife. Yeah, that's a hard.
And Mac, you guys do your homework. You should know these things where they're playing. Mac, come on, man. You think lackadaisical here.
Special teams.
I just want to see if you guys are on the same page I am. That's all.
Well, one thing
about the Patriots team is they are probably have been the most consistent, fundamentally strong team I've ever seen.
I would agree.
Since Belichick's been there, blocking, tackling, all that stuff they do well. They scheme up for other teams, so they're going to scheme up against Zach Wilson here, and they've watched the film. They're going to have something for Zach Wilson, and they know. For the Jets to win a game, they're going to have to run the ball. They got one good receiver that Zach Wilson hooked up with once. They got other receivers, but I don't think that's going to be. It's going to be a running game for the Jets, and I guarantee you.
Yeah, but they didn't do well in their running game against Dallas.
No, they didn't.
They did not. They did not.
Patriots do pretty well against the run as a rule, and as I think they will have to run. Both teams, you got to control the football in the NFL today. As much as it's a throwing league, you still need to control the football. But as Jim said, I think, yes, they got a scheme against Zach Wilson, but the scheme is going to be against Garrett Wilson. If he can't get Garrett Wilson involved, the Jets won't win this game.
Yeah.
Keith, you anticipate Mac Jones to be healthy, continue on as the starter. If he gets hurt, what's the plan as the season goes along? Is it going to be Zappy? Or is it going to be Will Grier, who came from Dallas, who Jim's familiar with? Who would Jim pick, Will Grier or Zappy?
Zappy, of course.
Yeah. Not today, going forward.
Going forward, you'd have to pick Zappy. The reason is he knows the offense.
It would be
but
Zappy.
In a few weeks, Will Grier's going to know it.
Will McGreer's bounced around the league now for 6 years.
Jim, by the last game of the season, who would it be? I mean, Jack keeps extending it to get to Greer.
Quarterbacks are getting hurt, Mac.
Who gives us a better chance to win in the Super Bowl, Zappy or Greer?
So anyway, listen, I expect. I'll tell you honestly, Keith, I expect Mac Jones to throw the ball. I expect him to throw the ball.
Be surprised, yeah. Which is interesting because they got a good pat. The Jets defense is really good, right? We left that part out. We got it. Bill O'Brien's got it schemed well himself to be able to move the football, keep the Jets pass rush off of Mac Jones, which they've done a very good job of in 2 games. One thing they have done well is keep him upright with quick passes and
guys, there's a storyline.
Yes, a lot of screens.
A lot of screens. And I expect them to throw a lot of screens, a lot of delays, and that's how they beat the Jets. The Jets are going to have to run the ball to beat the Patriots. I don't know if they can do that. And that's just how I see it anyway.
All right.
Let's welcome in Robert Butler from Sports Scope.
Have a good day, Keith.
Before I go, change my pick. I don't want the Bills. I want the Pats.
All right.
Walk me into it.
All right. And I got to tell you, okay, you have a great show, Keith. We'll see you later. And we'll welcome in Robert. Take it easy, Keith.
All right. Take it easy.
Take care, Keith.
So before we start with Robert, I got to explain something to Jim. Favorites are teams that are favorite. They have minus the points. He wanted to slide Tennessee in. He wanted to slide Tennessee in.
I made a mistake on that. I was going to pick Baltimore. Baltimore.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have had Tennessee.
That's okay. That's all right. So
you know why, Matt?
Straighten that out now.
Points all together. Why don't we just pick the three
Jack,
teams
why do we
most
gotta
likely to win?
Jim, since I've done the big football show every week without fail, Jack has complained about picking with the points or against the points. I mean, even before you got here, Jack has always done this. So let's turn our attention to Robert because he's our guest for the week. How are we doing today, Robert?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Not too bad.
Good deal. Good deal.
The Pittsburgh Steelers' Mike Tomlin suspends a couple players for kneeling during the national anthem. Robert, pretty old school there with Mike Tomlin, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that turns out that was satire. I read it twice.
It happened. Never happened.
I think Mac does have to mess with me, sending me this stuff.
Mac put that rumor out. Mac was the one that started that rumor, and then he caught on with other people.
I tried to get Robert.
They got a satire website.
I can't get Robert. I tried. I tried it, but it seems like something he might do. But anyway.
Yeah. He's a hard-nosed guy.
No. He actually had a year or two ago. Everyone was supposed to be in the locker room for the national anthem. One player came out and held his hand over his heart. And Tomlin's only objection was we do everything together as a team, whatever we do.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so that Robert comes through, shows that I was trying to get him. So this is true though. NFL accuses the running backs of exaggerating their injuries, and that happened just before Chubbs got hurt, Robert.
Yes. The NFL's accused the NFLPA of telling running backs to consider feigning or exaggerating injuries. I couldn't really tell because they're always banged up. So that is a hard. There's no rules. We saw the Nick Chubb injury. Mike Florio saying maybe the NFL should outlaw hitting below the knees because they're not protected like the quarterbacks. So it's hard to legislate it. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I know that would get you guys up in a roar there.
And Robert, they said that Nick Chubb's injury is not as serious as they think it was.
Right.
He has an MCL. He doesn't have an ACL.
And his kneecap is not dislocated. So that was a miracle. If you guys saw that on the internet.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh. I saw the two pictures of his leg. It's scary. It's scary what his leg goes the other way. There used to be there was a series like V or something where these aliens, their legs went the other way, remember? And that's what it looks like to me. I mean, as a running back, the reason, I stopped playing in high school my last year was because I got hit in the knee from the side, sort of like that. And that was it. I was done. I wasn't doing anything else with that.
Yeah. They said he could be back in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. I talked about that on my show. He went in the second round. He was the best running back, I thought. Barkley got number 2. Sony Michel's already out of the league. He was his teammate at Georgia. He is a tough – this guy, if anybody could come back, somebody like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb, he'll come back.
Yeah, he had the same injury at Georgia.
Yes. Well, he had an ACL at Georgia, and people were, it was a bad injury. He got hurt at Cleveland prior to this and came back. Yeah. So this guy,
Well, he won't be back this season, regardless.
No.
So we thought there was talks of having his leg amputated, perhaps, because of nerve damage and stuff. I mean, that was how bad that injury was. It was very Joe Theismann-like, I thought.
Yeah. I agree with you.
That's very true. KC wins with Chris Jones coming back for their defense, and pretty much the defense last week for the Chiefs are the reason why they won. Let me ask you a question. You think Chris Jones is more important than Kelsey?
Now I do the national. If you did a national poll on that probably wouldn't favor that. But I think Chris Jones is very important. Now, he only played 51% of the snaps, but you got to give their management credit there. They had this Bolton guy, I think his name is Nick Bolton, this linebacker. They've really done a good job drafting. It's not just Chris Jones on that defense is playing well. Like I said, he only played 51% of the snaps, but Jones is the center point. He is the guy on the nose of the football. Still got plenty of left. Probably get a few more snaps today. I think they'll roll today against the Bears. And they're just trying to break in new players at the receiving corps. You got first and second year players there. And I don't know if Kadarius Toney's going to play. He's got a toe injury. So they're going to be a little short there. And Kelsey.
Him and Pacheco are supposed to play. They're questionable, but I think they're expected to play.
Yeah.
Chris Jones is an interesting guy because he can play. Oh, no, I was just saying he can play inside or outside. Yep. And he is huge. And he did make an impact on the game.
Oh, even at 51%, Jim. Even at 51%, he was stuffing the run and getting after the quarterback better than the other defensive lineman on that team. And that's why I asked you. I mean, listen, I know Kelsey is one of the best tight ends in the league, but Chris Jones, we talk about some defenders. You know, we talk about Michael Parsons, linebacker. We talk about safeties and cornerback. We talk about linemen in very frequent circumstances. You know, Donald, and I think Chris Jones is up there with Donald and is up there, and especially playing inside. That's not easy.
Yes.
That's not easy to get after that quarterback going up against a guard and tackle at the same time. A lot of instances.
Chris Jones is elite, but I think in Kelsey, he's the only guy Mahomes could really trust. Mahomes is a great leader. He's never going to be critical of anyone, but otherwise he's got to spread the ball all over. And like I said, he doesn't know who he could trust except for Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. This is a good point. It's a good point. The Bears. The Bears. Oh. So not only their team is trouble, but
the team that Jim picked to go to the NFC Championship game.
I'm not even talking about that right now, Jack.
That was your satire website.
No, I didn't.
You picked away. Wait, a couple of guys picked them on the show.
I thought they'd be better than they are.
I'm not even talking about the Bears winning the play. They can't even keep a hold of their equipment, Robert.
100,000.
Yeah, stole the. You know, my old neighborhood, people's batteries would get stolen out of their car. I know what it's like to live in a rough area. All the lawnmower equipment, 100,000. That's a lot of money for a lawn. But these are big, heavy duty. You got multiple mowers and whatnot stolen from the Bears facility. The defensive coordinator resigns earlier this week. Justin Fields calls out the coaching staff, has to come back and do a rebuttal or a retrieval in air quotes on the offensive coordinator. It's been a rough week, man. I don't know if they broke a mirror or something. There's some kind of bad luck up there in Chicago.
It's been crazy.
And they're 0-2 on top of all that. So.
And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. They Kansas City.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know, I'm one of the ones that picked the Bears to do something this year, at least be in the running for the top position of the division. It's not over yet. You know, it's not over. It's only 3 games.
Things can change.
So I'm not worried about it. I just think it's amusing as a Chicago Bear owner. I don't know who owns. I don't know if the Hallis family still owns the Bears or not. Last I knew, they did. Whoever's running the Bears as the owner has got to get into that front office and coaching staff and straighten that out before the Bears even become good again, before they can go to the playoffs again. The problem isn't with the players. The problem is in the whole system there. There's more problems with GM and coaches there than it is with the team, Robert.
Well, don't you think this has been a long-term problem? Because they could have picked Patrick Mahomes instead of Trubisky.
Oh, no, but that's second guessing, Jim. That's second guessing now at this point. Mahomes went number 10 in Kansas.
Mahomes was pretty good in college.
Yeah, but Trubisky, there was nothing wrong with the pick at the time.
I know. You could have picked anybody.
They could have picked Deshaun Watson too at that time. And Deshaun Watson, even though he's not playing well at the moment, he was outstanding with Houston. So it's easy to, that revisionist thinking.
But the knock is he didn't have that many starts, Jack, in college.
Yes.
Trubisky, he was limited on his starts in college. They overthought themselves, I thought.
Yeah.
And
listen, San Francisco did too with Trey Lance. So I mean, I'm not even talking about as far as drafting. I'm talking about how there's no relationship, it seems, between the general manager and the coach, and it's been going like that for years. And I don't know. I don't know if you know, Jim. I don't know who the owner of the Bears is anymore. I think it's the Hallis family.
Still Hallis family.
With Justin Fields, he's going to be criticized for speaking up, but it gets to be frustrating. He's in his second season, and if you're not setting up the offense to his strengths, he doesn't have an offensive line. It's frustrating after a while. It's hard
but he made some
your mouth shut when you're getting ridiculed publicly.
Some of these things are. I mean, and you're right. They got to do a better job coaching him and find out what his strengths and weaknesses are. But you should know that by now, don't you?
Jim, I know what his strengths and weaknesses are right now. He's not a pocket quarterback. I know what they are.
And you're right. But the interesting thing is the kid at Houston is Stroud is farther advanced than Justin Fields at this time, and that's coaching.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
I definitely agree.
Robert,
we got some key injuries. We got some key injuries this week coming up. Diggs is out for the season. Of course, Chubbs is out. Eckler is going to be out, at least for the game. And Burrows might be out Monday night. Again, he injured his calf during practice, sort of like what Aaron Rodgers did. What do you do for the Bengals? I mean, we'll get to the other players next, but what do you do for the Bengals? Do you sit him out till he can heal or he's better, or do you play him?
I would. I mean, that he's very close to tearing that Achilles, and nobody wants to see that. His own teammate, Jamar Chase, he said, listen, man, please just get that calf healed. We will go above and beyond to help this team win. This Jake Browning's been in the system for 2 years. I don't know why they should have let him sit out these first couple, 3 or 4 games. We all know Cincinnati can go on long runs and win 10, 11 games in a row. They've been to 2 AFC championship games. It was a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Yeah, so they've got, they got a window, and this thing may close when Higgins comes up for contract.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Hopefully that maybe I would sit him the next 2 weeks. But
how damaging was Diggs' loss for Dallas? A real elite cornerback, and in my opinion, the third best player on that team behind Micah Parsons and Zach Martin.
Yeah. I don't think it's the end of the world. They do have some injuries on their line today, their offensive line. They got a few game time decisions. Zach Martin's going to play, according to Rappaport. But I don't think it's the end of the world because he's a cornerback. It's not Micah. It's not Micah. You still got Stephon Gilmore. Maybe
might be a little long in the
tooth. Did you know that Deron Bland, who will replace him, as a rookie last year, he had 5 interceptions.
Okay,
he was playing outside, so he's done it. And then they have, I can't remember his name. They have the other slot corner coming back. He's been injured with foot injury, so they can. I'm not saying they're going to beat Diggs. That's not what I'm saying.
Right,
but they can have somebody.
But they're not going to fall apart and get thrown on.
No,
and be 30th against the pass.
The guy that's playing Dobbs today probably would be the best guy to play at this point to get him. But Dobbs can run now. Dobbs can really run.
So let's get to the couple of rookie quarterbacks. Richardson, concussion. I think he's out for this game too. Bryce Young, they say he hurt his ankle. They will not tell us which ankle he hurt last time I checked. So do you think that this is the coach, and maybe he is injured a little bit, the coach saying, okay, come on back onto the bench for a little bit. Let the other quarterback play a little bit, relax. Is the pressure getting too much for Bryce Young right now, Robert?
Well, they do like targets for him. I know there's a rookie out of Ole Miss that they're trying to get to will in his wheelhouse as far as being a go-to guy. But, that was my biggest fear of Bryce Young. very accurate, but really small. I mean, defensive lineman grabs a guy's ankle, and then he hurts his ankle, kind of like Nagata did with Michael Vick one time in a preseason game. The guy played for the Baltimore Ravens, Michael Vick. Going back to the Anthony Richardson, that offense has the running back. He should be running back. They got the quarterback running right up the middle, and he gets a concussion. That's the same offense that Philadelphia did with Jalen Hurts, where he got his shoulder hurt in the Bears game. Man, you got to take that. I mean, I understand that's part of the offense, but using the quarterback as a fullback, I mean, I think that's crazy. And I understand that's their offense, but can't you take that out of the game there?
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you. And everybody that's followed this knows I'm not a critic of Bryce Young. I just don't think I don't think he's going to make it in the NFL. That's just me. I think he's too small. I think that too light. And to me, it's Kyler Murray with less weight on. That's what I think Bryce Young is.
He's got a better attitude than Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Bryce Young will be fine. It's a question of how long it's going to take.
I'm talking physically, Jack. I'm not talking about attitudes.
Yeah, but look at Anthony Richardson, a big, strong, powerful guy, and he's showing he could be more injury prone than any quarterback in the NFL.
He's running the ball up the middle.
I know, but that's in his nature. Anthony Richardson wants to take guys on.
My take on it is Bryce Young will end up being similar to Drew Brees.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Because he has some of the that Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is not a big guy either.
Yeah.
Let me tell
Brees
you,
could run early in his career.
I watched Drew Brees since college. The dude is one of the most accurate throwers I've ever seen.
Bryce Young is pretty accurate. I think he has built around him, offensive line,
and Young is not as accurate as Brees. Not that I've seen yet. And he sure.
I think he'll be fine. I'm like Jack on that. I think
Mac, there has to be a little caution. Jim also thought Thibodeau was going to be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Thibodeau's going to be fine.
Robert, I don't
Mac's a believer now. Mac is coming across the other line.
I don't agree with you right now. I'm with Jack. He's a plus. He doesn't try hard enough. Robert, any kind of fantasy team, put together a fantasy team for us, would you?
Yeah, sure. Let me go to that lineup. Yeah, Jack is like the defense lawyer. Objection, Your Honor. Objection. That is not true. Jack is going to strike here. Okay. The highest scoring game of the week, guys, I think is going to be at Minnesota. The LA Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings here. Now, Justin Herbert, I said I thought he'd have a pretty good game last week. I said those receivers against Tennessee, they all had a great game. They didn't get the win because Staley is bad situationally. That's becoming a thing. But I like Herbert this week. Justin Jefferson, Minnesota. The Chargers. 32nd against the pass. Those cornerbacks, J.C. Jackson, that they got over from New England, has been a total bust. He got roasted by Tua, and now he's going against. I don't think he will be going. Somebody else will be guarding. They'll probably double Jefferson, but I think he'll have a big game. I got him at 9,700. Mike Williams, the LA Chargers, Calvin Ridley. Believe it or not, he's going to have a great game again. Ridley's, believe it or not.
I got it, Robert.
Yeah.
I got it. Jack,
man.
Jack doesn't know what's going on.
If you don't say Thibodeau,
yeah.
I know what I'm thinking.
Jack's a little slow.
If the LA Chargers lose, is there a possibility the head coach gets fired, Brandon Staley?
Yes.
Because they'd be 0-3. And I'm talking about getting fired maybe after this game, as early as this.
There's rumors about that, isn't it, Robert?
Yeah. I think Keelan Moore could be the interim coach in air quotes by Monday, guys.
But Mike McCarthy had a problem with Kellen Moore at Dallas. The way he ran his offense, he said they'd go 3 and out, and the defense would be tired. They'd be on the field more than he wanted.
He said it was more gimmicky than.
Yeah.
I talked about that with Jim. We talked about that early. I thought Mike McCarthy shoring up that offense. Dak Prescott, it's only 2 games, 0 interceptions. A high radius.
But he almost had an interception last week. Sauce Gardner dropped it.
Yeah. But that only counts at horseshoes and hand grenades, Jim.
That's true. And they were playing the G.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. So, Houston has both starting corners out. So I do think Trevor Lawrence and of course, Calvin Ridley have a great game. Nico Collins, he's becoming CJ Stroud, but guys, he's quietly having a great season.
Yes, that's what I keep. I was
600 yards passing in the first 2 games.
Wait. Great. Let's define great here. He's playing
great as a
not great for a first-year player.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's playing very well. Yeah.
And now I know what Robert meant.
No big name targets.
Don't try to knock Robert down.
Yeah, no big name targets. He's got a defensive-minded head coach, Mac.
Yes.
His left tackle's out. And he's still playing pretty well.
Marmy Tunsil.
Yeah,
Robert, I think I was the one that said C.J. Stroud was the best of the 3 quarterbacks.
Me too. I did. Me too.
Yes, you did.
I thought so too. But Bryce Young's going to be fine. The question, the big 3, will Anthony Richardson last? That's the big question.
He'll last. Anthony Richardson will be better than Bryce Young in the end. I mean,
no.
And actually, you said Will Levens was going to be the best quarterback. Man.
That was key. That was key.
That
was key. That was key. But listen, maybe Levens will be.
He ain't even getting hit.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way. That's one way to extend your career.
He's like Sam Bradford so far.
Yeah, that's right.
He gets hurt getting off the airplane.
Any other big stories you're following out there, Robert?
Let me double check here and make sure. Let's see. Bryce Young, Trayvon Dick. Yeah, we got them all covered, guys.
A story. The Rams, that Puka.
Yes.
He's injured. He might not play today. The wide receiver.
25 catches, guys. Yep. And he set the record for the first 2. I'll say this. There was a story I was following earlier this week. The Rams may have set the new model, guys. $70 million in dead cap this year. They put it all back to this year. They drafted like 12 players and all of them made it because they need the bodies. But they'll have their first round pick next year. They'll have $700,000 only in dead money, and I have about $55 million in cap room. Think about the run they've been on, guys. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win. Yeah, it's only 2. It's like a quick bankruptcy, and now they're going to start over. They got a clean slate. That's something for general managers and ownership to look at around the league, the model that the Rams have used.
But the 49ers have the most cap space in the NFL right now, correct?
Yeah. Well, because Brock Purdy, they got him on a rookie contract, and they got Garoppolo's contract out of the building, even after paying Nick Bosa. Yeah. What's going on, Jamie?
Well, I don't give him recognition. He can't just come in when he wants and we stop the show, to give him recognition. Come on.
I ain't seen him in a while, man. How you doing, man?
All right. There you go. So, Robert, we're gonna let you. We're gonna let you go. You have a great Sunday, and we'll push.
Have a good show, guys.
Yeah, Robert coming in.
All right.
Take care, Robert. Sounds like somebody's a little jealous that I made it on the show.
Well, the tug of war going on between Jeff Coat and Pags is at a stalemate. They're both 2-0. And Pags doesn't care how his Eagles are winning at this point in the season. Let him just get the W's, and they'll peak towards the playoffs. I mean, I think Jim's a little more nervous than Pags is over the long haul.
Why is that?
Maybe the Eagles have built a little better to last than the Cowboys for the duration of the season. That's what I mean.
This is coming from the Jets, man.
So this Jim is Jack's way of trying to incite some kind of argument here for some kind of entertainment. It's not spontaneous at all.
I understand.
He's got it written down on the side pad.
He put his whole life on Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, if the Jets make it to the Super Bowl, there's an outside possibility Rodgers will be back for the game.
Yeah, and we'll all be waiting for
this holistic healing, some type of healing thing.
And that would mean Kirk Cousins have brought you guys to the Super Bowl.
So there you go.
That'd be Kirk Cousins that would have done that.
Yes. So Pags is the first on the spot mentioning that Kirk Cousins would be a good trade. Everybody else followed Pags in a row, as you know how famous he is on TikTok. They all saw his video and said, he's right. Kirk Cousins might end up going to the Jets, which is very interesting. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be interesting anyway.
I don't.
So Pags, we need your top 3 favorite picks and your underdog, and then we'll give the fans back our underdog pick. What do you got, Pags?
Oh, are there people playing today? Oh, I don't know because I've actually been spending my time on the beach. I'm a little burnt right now. So
you missed. I know last week you missed your picks, and I'll let you know that doesn't count for you. It won't count against your Pags, but it doesn't count for you either. So we're just
you shouldn't put Pags in this spot. You remind me of the teacher who had asked me a question in class, and I wasn't ready to give any type of answer.
And that was quite often. So what do you got, Pags? What do you got for the
all right. So I got the Jags. The Jaguars are going to win today. I have the Patriots as a favorite on the road against some team in New Jersey. And the Chiefs are going to crush the Bears.
You know what? Steve taught the Philadelphia Eagles. Unless you're a little nervous that Baker Mayfield will keep it close and might win the game for Tampa.
We're talking about Sunday. We didn't talk about Monday, right? It's Sunday. We're talking about the games today, not tomorrow.
No,
you could use Monday. You could use Monday if you want, Pags.
Yeah,
you could use Monday if you want. If you want to take Philly.
Well, I've already made 3 picks, and my underdog to win, although it's a slight dog, are the Chargers.
Okay. All right, there you go.
Because after the Vikings lose today, Kirk Cousins becomes a Jet.
What?
All right. There you go. He's going to get him there no matter what.
So, folks,
before we continue on here with before we get on with Pags, let's give you our underdog picks here.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
We have sound effects now.
That's right, Pags. We do got sound effects. So this is where we give our underdog picks here. I'm going to go first. I'm going to take Tennessee +3 at Cleveland as Deshaun Watson continues playing very bad. So what do you got, Jack?
I'll take the Washington Commanders with, I think it's 6.5 points at home against the Buffalo Bills. I really like Washington's defense. Everyone's talking about their offense, their quarterback, Sam Howell. Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator. But they have a pretty good defense that slipped under the radar.
Okay, and what do you think, Jim? What do you got?
I meant Tennessee over Cleveland. I think Tennessee over.
So you got Tennessee too. Okay, so both of us not too. Me and Jim both not too excited about Cleveland this year now. As in the beginning of the year, I think Jim picked Cleveland to win the division, but he's starting to come back to earth right now. So
I did.
Deshaun Watson.
No, I picked Baltimore. I picked Baltimore to win the division.
I think you did too, Jim. I'm just giving you a hard time. Deshaun Watson is really having struggling out there. Hasn't been the same since, as we've talked about.
Yeah, he had to. Now he can't get female masseuses. He has to
Oh,
also.
come on, guys, stop with the jokes all the time. I hear this from Mac all week going on with Sean
He's got
Watson.
male masseuses. What?
Which Deshaun Watson is an elite
I
quarterback.
don't know. He seems looks like he's playing a little late.
Listen, stay the course. He will straighten out. I don't know how long it'll take, but he will straighten out and eventually be his old self. Like I said, I don't know how long.
They have no choice.
Panic week by
They have
week.
no choice but to stay the. They have no choice, Jack, but to stay the course. They got a big contract that they're guaranteed Deshaun Watson. Yes. So, Pax, let's break down a little bit about Tampa Bay and the Eagles. Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-0. I don't think they really played anybody yet, but they're still 2-0 in a division that's isn't the strongest. So they're up there, and they have as good a shot as anybody, I guess, at winning the division. But they're coming up against the Eagles, and what do you think is going to happen? How do the Eagles shut down Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield and that Tampa Bay offense?
You're saying that the division isn't the strongest, but that division is second to the NFC East in wins. You know that they are 6-2, where the NFC East is 7-1. And I tell you, after looking at the lines, now that I looked at the lines for the first time, so now that I've looked at the lines, the Carolina Panthers actually have a favorable line. Anytime I see a 5. When I see a 5, like that Seahawks are a 5-point favorite or a 5.5-point favorite, that becomes an underdog line. Right? I don't know why. Like numbers of 5 is weird. That's always a weird number. So I think that Carolina could actually pull off the upset.
Bryce Young is not playing today, Pax.
Well, then that's even weirder that it's still only 5 points. You know, that should be like 9 points.
Maybe they think they have a better shot.
Maybe they do. So I think that the Eagles cannot look past this game. They have a very difficult time playing in Tampa Bay. They haven't won here since 2011, I think. And it's and Tampa always plays us tough. They always look at us as like one of those rivals that doesn't ever that they don't play very often. So the Eagles really need to make sure to bring an A game here. They haven't really played a complete game yet, and they need to make sure to do so against Tampa if they're going to want to win. I think that this game's going to be fairly close. And, I wouldn't be 100% surprised if the Eagles lose this game. However, I would be disappointed because that means that they didn't take it seriously. After 10 days, having 10 days off to prepare for a team, you need to make sure to take those wins.
Pax, you're in Philadelphia. You know the mood a lot better than I do, but I get the sense that fans in Philadelphia are asking now, what's wrong with the Eagles? We're not the same team, but no one's getting hyper because the Eagles are 2-0. All they need to do is lose one game, and then things start really becoming a bit uncomfortable.
I think that there is it's different right now because the Phillies are where they're at right now. So I think that people are not 100% invested in the Eagles just yet. As funny as that sounds, I know that football runs Philadelphia, but the Phillies are, because they are on this wild card hunt and they happen to be playing pretty well, and they are playing the Mets right now, and they seem to just keep winning those games, that there is some of that going on. As October comes, last year winning begets winning. So like as the Phillies were winning, the Eagles were winning, the Flyers started out 7-0. You know what I mean? It was like everybody was winning in Philadelphia. The moment that the Phillies lost the World Series, the very next game, the Eagles lost to Washington, and the Flyers went on a losing streak. So there is a lot of the optimism right now is, I think, pushed towards the Phillies, and the Eagles are still in their preseason portion of the regular season.
You make an interesting point. If cities had a choice to pick one franchise in the major sports to win a title, obviously in Dallas it would be the Cowboys over the Rangers and the Mavericks, easy. In New York, I actually think it would be the Knicks more than any other team if we could pick just one to win a championship. In Philadelphia, would it be the Sixers, the Phillies, or the Eagles?
The Eagles.
Mhm.
Oh, it's always the Eagles. So if you're going to choose one champion, only one of those teams can win a
Yeah.
championship. It's always going to be the Eagles. Uh,
Pags,
that
I,
being
I don't, I
said,
don't, I don't get the concern of your concern at Tampa Bay. I really don't. Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield is not a franchise quarterback. Tampa Bay has a so-so defense. They got maybe one weapon. I think what is Mike Evans he throws to is his weapon there. Uh, if you guys have, I would not expect you guys to have problems with a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers unless you're looking forward to the next game. And I'm not sure what that is right now. I got their schedule in front of me. Right now, so far, the first three.
But I'm gonna. And here's what I have to say about that. And maybe Jim can attest to this in some way, shape, or form. For some reason, certain teams just play better against other teams. When Jim was playing, Washington didn't always have a team that could go up against the Cowboys, but they always would seem to split. It's like that for some reason or another, the Redskins were able to get one of these games against Dallas,
That
and
is true.
Dallas always had the better talent. So this is a similar situation here. I don't know if it's something that's in the air. Maybe it's like, hey, listen, last night the Eagles or tonight the Eagles are going to go out to eat somewhere, and they put like a little bit of sleeping sauce in the steaks or whatever. It could be 1,000 different things that could create
And that
why
stadium is
things
unique
happen.
and how it's structured with all the things that go into that stadium, and it can be distracting with that cannon and all that stuff they do.
But Pags, your example is I understand your example, but you're talking about NFC rivalries, East rivalries, and it's very hard for in most cases, it's very hard to win both games. I mean, they know each other so well, and it's hard. I don't care about talent or not as far as that goes because the rivalries were so intense, especially you're going back where the Eagles could beat the Giants and the Redskins beat the Eagles and the Giants beat the Redskins. And that's the way it has been. A little different now. The Eagles are kind of the best team in Dallas right now with the Commanders and the Giants. But at one time, you know the team so well, you're playing in the same division for years. So, that I understand that. Tampa Bay, I don't understand. And I know Brady played, I think the last time you guys played. Brady's not there anymore.
Yep. But Tampa has always played Philly tough, and they closed down the vet, they opened up the new stadium, all of which were big deals. You know what I mean? Those are big deals. And Tampa remembers that. And plus, the other thing that's a little funny here is that the Tampa Bay region has a very strong Philadelphia contingent here. There's a lot of people. I mean, the Phillies are in Clearwater. Not that the Yankees are close by too, but they just don't have the same type of presence. The Tampa has a huge Philadelphia presence here, and it's part of the fabric of Tampa Bay. And maybe that has something to do with it. I can't put my finger on why things occur because you're right. On paper, the Eagles should smoke the Buccaneers, but I think this is going to be a much tougher game, and it's always because Tampa Bay plays the Eagles really, really tough. Who could explain why? Hey, listen, there's got to have been sometimes when the Jets had a better team than the Eagles, but the Eagles will go up to New York and we would just always beat the Jets. We still have always beat the Jets. It's the only team.
Not
it's the only
this
two
year.
teams in the NFL. It's the only two teams in the NFL. Hey, listen, you win a game first before you start talking, Jack.
We did
You
win a
guys are
game. We beat Buffalo.
0-13. You're 0-13 against the Eagles. 0-13 against the Eagles. You're about to become 0-14. You're about to become 0-14. So
we won a game. It's
win a game.
impossible to be 0-4. We won a game already. We beat Buffalo in the opener. We came back.
0-13 versus the Eagles. You have never, ever, ever beaten the Eagles in a regular season game. Ever.
Well, this is a new era.
Ever.
Yeah, it's a new era. This is a Zach Wilson era. Don't
hold your breath, Jack.
Well, Jim
maybe
is
with
be
Kirk Cousins,
Jim is not in this.
Jim will be rooting for the Jets against the Eagles.
We beat the Jets, Jack. We
Jim
beat them.
will be rooting for the Jets against the Eagles. That's
Jack, Jack, this is a new era, so they're starting a new series with them, so they'll be 0-1.
Listen, you got to understand, Jim's a little bitter that the Jets didn't draft him. He wanted to stay in the area, the Jersey area. So
I was in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me ask you all a question now. You know, the Giants are really struggling right now. They got a torrid schedule here the first 7 games or so. And a lot of people are questioning Daniel Jones, the coaching staff, all this stuff. I think it's because of the success of last year and their schedule. And the ball gets the coach of the year his first year there, all this good stuff. If you were to break down the coaches in the NFC East from top to bottom, what order would you put them in? I'll start with Jim. From the Eagles all the way down.
Good coach, I think, is what the personnel is personnel. I'm not putting them in a thing. It's too early in the season. But I think they, like I said earlier in the show, I think they could get better as the season progresses. They started off with difficult teams to play. And that's the thing. And like you said, they had success, but they didn't beat many winning teams last year.
They know they beat Baltimore, they beat the Jags. But anyway, so the order you would have the coaches in, Jim, who do you think?
I'm not going to put them in order right now.
Yeah, okay.
It's hard because Sirianni and DeBal are kind of risers, new coaches. DeBal was a coach of the year. Sirianni did a great job taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl. I'm not the biggest Mike McCarthy fan, but he did win a Super Bowl. Ron Rivera did take a team to a Super Bowl. So they're like the old guard. But if I had to pick one, I think Sirianni is the coach with the most upside. So he would be
agree.
one I'd take out.
I would agree with that. And I think Pags would agree with that too. Who doesn't get it? If you think about Ron Rivera and all the turmoil around the Commanders over the last couple of years, and to get them over 500 with a rookie quarterback, then got Benjamin now. But I think Ron Rivera is underrated, guys. I really do. That can you imagine?
He's never won without the quarterback at Carolina. He's never. That's the only time he's really been really successful.
I'm talking about with the Commanders.
But even with Washington, we have to wait to see. We'll find out a little bit about him today when they play.
Consider this, Jim. They were 8-1 last year, and they're 2-0 this year. They're actually 10-8-1 in their last 19 games. We don't think of them as being that good. We think of them as having a losing record during that span. But actually, they've had a winning record, for the last 19 games at least.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Pax? You think Rivera is underrated?
Well, if you count the last 21 games, they'd be 10-10-1. And then if you count the last 21 games, they'd be 10,
well,
12, and
they beat the Eagles
games. So
to win the division a couple of years ago. But they had a losing record that year, the last
4 years ago now.
When the Eagles deliberately tanked in the last game.
Oh, here we go again. But all I'm saying, Pags, is under that kind of situation, right?
Make the Giants fan cry.
We know Chicago has problems with their GMs and the front office there. It seems like Washington, with that ownership over there, I'm not sure who the GM. I don't even know who the GM was with Washington, but a lot of problems. And Ron Rivera has kept the Commanders competitive. I think he's done a great job over there for him. Disagree?
A great job that's
disagree.
a stretch, Mac. Don't say he's done a great job. And let me ask you a better question here, guys, Mac. Even though it's a valid question you did ask. Do you think Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, was forced on Ron Rivera, that he really wanted him? Because Bieniemy's a big personality and he's so loud. Rivera might feel like he's a little undermined at times, but he can't say it, even though he hinted towards that early in the year.
What's this done before
Perfect
the new
time. Perfect timing. We got Commander Nash from the Commanders in here to answer some of these questions, as I was hoping he would come in about this time. As we're talking about his Commanders, Commander Nash, you guys got a big game today, and I guess you're on your way to watch it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Me and my brother and my good friend Tyson were about 10 miles out from.
This is good stuff. Keep it going, Nash.
Just like the Commanders do. They freeze.
Yeah. You're going on a stall on offense here.
Well, what we're going to try, I
Stalled right in the middle of it. There we go.
We'll take you out, and if you can try and come back in, we'll give you another shot at it. It's a little tough doing the car and coming on the show, but give it a shot, one more shot, and we'll give you a try. So the Commander Nash is headed there. I know he's excited about playing, about watching this team play today. Listen, 2-0. They're in the mix right now. Yeah, and the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, all three.
Weren't they down 17-0 last week?
Yes, they came back second half.
Yeah, they came back.
Yeah, they came back and won that. So, listen, you might have been right, Jim. Maybe Washington's a lot better team than we thought. That's what you said in the beginning. So let's go and get some of these teams.
They've had two soft games to start their season. Keep that in mind.
Hey, listen, 2-0, 3-0 is 3-0. Right?
They won the game.
It's true. That's 2-0. Jets would love to be 2-0, Jack.
Listen, so would the Giants. So listen, I mean, at least they're ahead of time. So
all teams would like to be, but it's a long season.
I'm saying before we take a team seriously, unless it's one of the preseason favorites, they need a signature win. For example, if Washington played Philadelphia, for argument's sake, and won that game, it's a signature win.
Right. So Commander Nash is back with us. Let's give it another shot.
Yeah, but actually, if Washington beats Buffalo today,
that's a signature win.
Well, it wasn't a signature win for the Jets.
Go. What do you think, Commander Nash? You listen. You guys are 2-0. You're going to Buffalo. Chance to go 3-0 and stay in first place. We were talking about Ron Rivera, and I'm saying I think he's an underrated coach.
I agree to a point, but also agree with Jim said. Ron Rivera had a great team with the Carolina Panthers. He had a quarterback, and that's why they made the Super Bowl run. I mean, he has to have a quarterback. If he ain't got a quarterback, I don't see him winning with an average quarterback.
Yes.
And we'll determine today what we do with Sam Howell. It's too early right now. Buffalo is going to be a real tough game. But like I've been saying, if Ron Rivera doesn't get at least 10 wins, I don't see him back in Washington next year.
That's what I like about Commander Nash. He's straight.
Commander Nash has a lot of insight. I like his insight on it. And Cam Newton really he was playing at an MVP level when Carolina won. And
absolutely, the Carolina Panthers went 15-1 for a reason, not just for a head coach. They had talent on the defense and offensive side.
And he does have talent. And you're right, Jack. There is talent in Washington, but we'll find out a little bit more because they were down to Denver 17-0, and you got to commend them for coming back.
I want to ask Commander Nash, was Eric Bieniemy Ron Rivera's choice? Was Bieniemy forced on Rivera? And how much say does Rivera have on the offense? Has he turned the keys completely 100% over to Eric Bieniemy, or was he forced to turn the keys over?
I think it was a joint decision with the prior ownership and Rivera. But I do know that Eric has more power than he did in Kansas City. He is also calling. He has full control of the offense, from what I've been hearing. And also, if something does happen to Rivera, he is the step-up head coach if something does happen. But you seen last week that what I said the week before, we need to take more shots downfield. And look at the touchdown to Terry and the touchdown to Logan Thomas. It pays off.
Is Logan Thomas going to play this week?
He is out. He's still in the concussion protocol. He'll be out this week. But Bates and Turner, we drafted. He's 6'7", and Bates has been in the team for a few years. I think between two of them, we can still spread the ball around for our tight ends, and they're pretty decent blockers.
The key here, I think, is for you to put pressure on Josh Allen without letting him run. Commander Nash, I think that will be the key to your defense. You got a good front four, and if you can get on him and not let him get out of the pocket and get a couple sacks on him, maybe force a couple throwing errors, I think you guys got a shot at him.
Josh Allen came out and gave us high praise on our defensive front. I very admire him, respect him for that. But I agree with that. We got to get after Josh Allen, and we got to contain Diggs. We cannot go 21 down to Buffalo in the first half because they can easily run the score like they did when we played them in Buffalo, put 42 on us. We have to score first, and we have to be aggressive. Like you said, we have to come after Josh Allen. He knows we're coming after him. We know we're coming after him. Let's hit him about 5 or 6 times and try to hold Diggs under 100 yards.
Buffalo doesn't have the greatest defense in the world. They're good, but they're not a dominating defense. You think you're going to run a little bit more against them? Maybe try to control the ball, keep Josh Allen off the field?
I think that'd be the game plan. We're still on our way to the stadium with the weather. We still got the tropical storm. I think this is the perfect weather to run Gibson and run Robinson. Let's establish the run early. Buffalo's defense, they got Tim Settle, which played for Virginia Tech. He played for us. I was sad to see him go. He's a great aggressive defensive tackle, but they still got their Pro Bowl safeties, and they still got White in the corner. So this is not going to be it's going to be another close game to the fourth quarter. It's not going to be a blowout.
Commander Nash, with a Washington victory today, if it puts them at 3-0, would it energize the fan base to the point where they would think the Commanders on the same level as the Eagles and Cowboys?
I'm sure the average fan would say yes, but being a realistic fan like I am, I said we're still not on that level. Even at 3-0, we still got ways to go. I say let's get through about mid-season and see where we're at. It's too early. Dallas and Philadelphia is going to fight for the division title. I do believe that.
Well, last year you guys did beat Philly, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jim, they beat Dallas too.
They beat Dallas
so, I mean, you guys did do it last year. If you can split with them again this year, you're in the mix.
I agree. We went up to Philadelphia. That was in Philadelphia. Then we finished off against Dallas. We got wins. We should have won one against the Giants. We should have split against the Giants too. But if we can, like y'all say, be competitive with our division rivals, we got a chance to make the playoffs. But it's still too early. We haven't played Dallas or Philadelphia yet. We got Philadelphia after Buffalo. That's going to be the test game. That's going to be the test game in the division, see where we rank.
Speaking of too early, is it too early to call Sam Howell the Commanders franchise quarterback?
Absolutely. It's way too early. I mean, we did that to RG3 before he even got on the field. We, as Washington fans, we're so looking for that quarterback. We put the franchise on before they step on the field. I think you have to wait, let him develop, and let's see what he does.
But RG3 had a great rookie year. The problem with his career was how he was used. He was physically abused by not being taken out of the games by the Redskins.
Absolutely. RG3 came in 2012. He got rookie of the year, but it was also conflict as well because the coaching staff they put RG3 back in the game. They should have pulled him out against the Ravens. Like eventually they did, and Kirk Cousins came in. But the Seattle playoff game, they should have pulled RG3 regardless if he wanted to be or not. He was not in the shape to be in that game, and if they would have pulled him in that game, he probably would have had a longer career.
Yeah, that's Shanahan, right? That did that.
Yep, yes, sir. Mike Shanahan. That was his call.
Yeah.
You're the head coach. That's your call, not the quarterback. It's his call to make that choice.
Well, same thing, Jim, with Ron Rivera at Carolina with Cam Newton. They left him in sometimes too long. He was taking physical beatings. He shouldn't have taken
physical beating. And I don't have any negative things to say about Rivera. I think he's a good coach. But he's under a lot of pressure this year because, as Pags said earlier, that new ownership is not going to take just making the playoffs. They want to win games.
Absolutely. This is not Dan Snyder's team no more. A little 8-8, 9-7 ain't going to get you to the promised land. These owners are coming in. They're hungry. They want to win. They said it at the pep rally. They've been saying it on social media. And like we're saying, if he can't get us to the playoffs or at least a playoff win, because we ain't won a playoff game since 2005. That's what we want. If we can't get there, then we're going to get somebody in the head coaching position that can get us there. I like Ron Rivera. I have a lot of respect for him. He fought cancer. But we got to it's about winning in the NFL at the end of the day. It's about winning.
You are correct. And, during the 80s, the Redskins, the Giants, the Eagles were competitive, and the Cowboys in the early 90s. The NFC East still has gotten back to being strong, I should say. And it's tough when you're like the Commanders and the Giants, and you're trying to get your footing back, and you got two teams that are built the way the Cowboys and the Eagles are right now. It's tough getting your foot in. I agree with you, Commander. It's going to take a couple of years.
Yeah, our division was, like y'all been saying, our division was the king of divisions in the 80s and the early 90s. I think we're getting back to that level again.
If the Commanders do move on from Ron Rivera,
So,
you
real
mentioned
quick,
new ownership. If they don't make the playoffs, will they be under extreme pressure to hire Eric Bieniemy?
I think so, because he'll already have a relationship with the offense. I think he'll be the best candidate. He's already in house.
Pags, what were you going to say? I know you had a question or a comment.
The question I have for you, Commander Nash, you guys in previous years, you've had so much going on behind the scenes that it's been a distraction. This year, if there is any distractions, they're under the radar. What type of things are going on that are distractions to this team?
Well, like you said, a lot of things be kept in-house. But right now, the biggest is the stadium. I think you see that on the news a lot. You see that they're pushing forward with the RFK site. It's already moved up, so that's a strong possibility. We could be going back to Washington. But all the distractions we had under Snyder are starting to fade away, and that's what we need to do. We need to stay out of the media for that and just be focused on football, a new stadium, and winning.
I agree.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that obviously they may not keep the Commander's name, and then
that's true.
And obviously there's this petition going around to rename the team the Redskins and such. That there has been talk from indigenous tribes that want to push for the Redskins name to be retaken. So it's I'm interested to see if that's even a little bit of a distraction.
It is a distraction. I agree with that because I read what the tribes are saying, and they're all for it. But I seen the petitions, I think there's like 120,000 signatures. I put my name on there as well. I would love for us to go back to the Redskins, but our GM, Jason Wright, and our owners came out and said the Redskin name is off the table.
Yeah.
I think fans should accept that. We
Nash,
will have a new name next year.
That's true. So, Commander Nash, we're going to let you get back. We can't wait to see what happens today. I'm rooting for the NFC East most times, but we can't let you guys get too far ahead of us because we're looking up as the Giants fans are anyway. We'll see. You have a great day. Thanks for stopping in again, Commander Nash.
Good luck.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Good luck to y'all's teams. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay dry.
Yeah. We put too much emphasis on
go.
the early part of the season because this season we're still in the early parts of it. And
I
that's
know,
the thing.
I know,
This
but
is the preseason of the regular season. It's the
Yep.
preseason of the regular season. You have 4 games to get it all figured out, and then that's how you really start to move forward.
Yes.
So the fact
it's
it
true.
always helps when you win these games because this is like winning games in baseball at the very beginning of the season, starting off hot, and those games obviously you
Texas
don't give those
Rangers.
games away. So every game that you win right now is only going to help later on in the season.
Oh, listen, the Giants last year, they put games in the bank. They started at 6-1, and then they hit a wall. They went 3-5-1 after that, but it was good enough to make the playoffs.
Yep.
So, you
Yep.
put
And if you remember, at one point last year, all 8 teams in the East, at one point, all 8 teams in the East were, it had the season stopped, they would have been in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was a real thing that happened last year.
Yeah.
Well, so let's get in and talk about the matchups with the other games that we didn't pick. Maybe even some that we did. We'll kind of take a look at the Colts. Very interesting. The Colts at Baltimore. Richardson isn't playing. I think it's Mr. Mustache. I think is out there if I'm not mistaken. Gardner Minshew. And it may give him a better chance to win than playing, of course, an injured Richardson. What do you think? Do you think there's a possibility that Baltimore looks past the Colts and they lose today?
Guys, they have a lot of guys injured, the Ravens.
Yeah.
A good number of starters. I mean, OBJ's out, Humphries is out. But I think they're playing the right team that they could beat with those injuries till the rest of the guys heal up. And at home, they should have enough to beat the Indianapolis Colts, but it might be a pretty close game.
I agree. What do you think about Odell being hurt already? When he was with the Rams, he came in at the end of the season. Now he comes in at the beginning of the season, isn't hurt. Do you think that he'll be out and in, on the injured reserve here all year, or do you think that maybe he gets it straightened out?
I might be wrong, but I do. I think that he's going to be an issue. I just think that he might be past his prime, and he's always going to be an issue with injuries.
Jim, who's going to be the number one
actually
receiver?
think this
Will
is
it be
planned.
They drafted Flowers, who's been a target the first couple of games. So OBJ, does he have a big enough ego where he has to be the number one receiver? Could there be some problems there?
I don't think so. I think he just wants the paycheck right at this point because he knows.
Yeah, I might agree with that. Atlanta at Detroit, a pretty big game for the division here. Atlanta playing well. Detroit, not, we'll find out more about them. They were supposed to be the team that's going to win this division by a lot of people's standards. Atlanta's playing real good. What do you guys think? Do you think Atlanta beats Detroit in Detroit?
Go ahead, Pax.
No, I don't think that. I think that Detroit wins today. I think that they were sniffing themselves after beating Kansas City, and they lost to Seattle. And it was a very similar game to the year beforehand where Seattle beat them 42-41, and that 1 point is what kept Detroit out of the playoffs. This year, I think that they sniffed themselves a little bit, and they went up to Seattle, and it went into overtime, but it wasn't, it wasn't their best effort. I think they put together a great effort today. I think Atlanta's still trying to figure out their offense. One of their biggest weapons, Pitts, is not being utilized at all, and I think that that's going to, until they can figure it out 100%. They've actually had a couple of games where they've been able to pull it together, and they've won those games, but I don't think that they're going to be able to do it against Detroit. I think Detroit's defensive line is too strong, and I think that they're going to be able to put some points on the board, and because of that, Atlanta's not going to be able to keep up.
I basically agree with Pax. I mean, for Detroit to lose to Desmond Ridder, and the Falcons, it would give it a bad look. Detroit too. We were waiting for them to break out. We assume that this is a new Detroit Lion team. And even though they finished last year strongly, they had an 8-9 record. And if they lose today, they're 1-2. And they've lost so many close games the last couple of years. At what point do we tell ourselves, you know, the Lions are maybe being a little overhyped as far as their potential goes? So it's important the Lions win today and go 2-1 and be trending towards winning the division title.
You know, Pax did make a good point about the NFC South. We thought they were going to be a weak division, but they're behind the NFC East in wins. I think Detroit should win today, but I wouldn't say that they're just going to run away with the game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than we are thinking. I think that Detroit will win the game, but it's going to be a tight game.
Guys, can 8-9 win that division? A record of 8-9. Consider the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears.
And I think, I call it from. No. That's not going to happen. The Green Bay is going to be more 8-9, 9-8. They're going to be about 500. Same thing with Detroit. Detroit's going to be about 10-7, 11-6. So yeah. I think that Atlanta gets in their own way today. That may solve itself in the next couple of weeks, but that's what happens today. Atlanta will lose this game because of Atlanta, not because of Detroit.
Could be. Houston at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Houston's a very defensive team. Their young quarterbacks playing pretty well. Jacksonville, a lot of people picked them to win the division. You guys, anybody think that Houston could beat the Jacksonville Jaguars today?
I don't think so. Houston's strength in the beginning of the year was their offensive line. That's all we heard. Oh, what a good offensive line. They invested to protect C.J. Stroud, you know, their highly picked rookie. But the guys are injured now. How do all these offensive linemen get injured? I mean, I don't understand the game. I understand receivers, but I understand the footwork they have to use, but they're not cutting as much, I don't think. But the bottom line is a lot of the offensive linemen are out for the Texans. So Jacksonville should win.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's just a better
pretty
team.
handily.
Yeah. Listen, I think the offensive linemen, we think they're not athletes. They're definitely athletes, and they're going against some big 300-pounders that are leaning on them. They're getting run into by their running backs and by the other linemen. They're falling on their legs and rolling up under them. I can see why they're getting here, you know, Jack.
But then they shouldn't be getting as many hamstring pulls as, let's say, a running back, a wide receiver who has to take off after their initial explosive burst.
Yeah,
I think you said something earlier in the show about the Giants' offensive line. I think it's going back to college because you don't see the physical nature in the pass. And I think that's hurting, especially offensive linemen.
I agree.
Right now, the only line that's really been intact is Philadelphia. The other lines are really struggling. They haven't had the injuries that the other lines have had this early in the season.
Yeah, and they're running the ball well too. They're running the ball a lot.
And the reason why I think, and I feel like that's the biggest difference, that they are surging forward and not pushing back. And that's when you have to go into pass block protection, that first step is the big one. And because those defensive linemen are getting on them quickly, that's how you pull the hamstrings. Because as you try to get that 1 foot, set, and there's been a lot of weather in the first couple of weeks, so the footing hasn't been 100% either. So when you start to get a little bit of slippage, and you get that guy on top of you, and you're trying to find the strength to be able to just stand your ground, that's when you're starting to get those hamstring pulls and those weird injuries
early in the season.
Yeah, definitely. Keith picked Denver to cover the spread of 6.5 at Miami, in Miami. Anybody think that Denver has a chance at winning this or covering the spread?
No. I think you're going to see Russell Wilson gone next year. I don't think I think that coach is not going to deal with Russell.
He's played better, Russell Wilson, the first couple of games. He hasn't been the reason that they're 0-2.
Yes, he's been part of the reason. He has been part of the reason. And I don't think that I don't think they're seeing eye to eye. I think that there's some type of missing. Something's missing between coach and quarterback right now.
Well, Coach Sean Payton
And
has to live with Russell
become
Wilson
more prevalent
over
throughout
the
the season.
contract. Because of Russell Wilson's contract
This year, but he don't have to live with him next year.
So there you go.
I think he's got issues on that team.
So, but that's
Russell
this year. Next year, they could drop him just like anything else.
Oh, there's a lot of issues right now with Denver.
Yeah, well, the issue is you're beating the team 17-0 and lose the game. What, 38-35?
It was 21-3, by the way. It was 21-3.
Yeah,
because they scored 20. It was 21. It was 21 points that they had scored.
Yeah.
Sean Payton may have been a little spoiled having Drew Brees all those years with New Orleans. Is Sean Payton the type of coach who feels he can just get just about any quarterback and plug him into a system? Or does he really need a franchise quarterback to be successful?
Well, he had Romo, and he wasn't a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. Because he one who found Romo. They went to the same high school. I mean, college.
And we're seeing that right now, that he can't just do it with anybody. He can't just do it with anybody because he's got a quarterback who has some type of pedigree, and they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I disagree with that statement. He needs somebody who's on his page and is able to do the things he wants them to do, and Russell Wilson's not doing that.
There's another storyline in the Dolphins game.
Wait a minute, Jack. Wait a minute, Jack. Pags, wait a minute, Jack. Jack, wait a minute, Jack. Pags, let me
I'm giving you insights, Mac.
Pags, he just got there. He hasn't been with Russell Wilson for a couple of years yet. He just got there, and Sean Payton was one of the better quarterback coaches in the league. So I mean, you got to give the guy at least a year with this guy before
he said the statement, "Stop kissing babies." That I read between lines there. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between coach and quarterback. That's a big deal, and that's not going away. That's not going away.
But the point is,
I think he's gotten full of himself. My opinion of it.
Yeah, all right.
Gotten a little bit full. He's believing the hype.
That could be too.
Sniffing himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead, Jack. You wanted to say something?
No. With the Dolphin game against Denver, Vince Fangio, who was the head coach of the Broncos, he's the defensive coordinator there with the Dolphins. I'm sure he's going to be pretty psyched. And if his players really like him, Jim could attest, if the players really love their coach, they're going to put that little extra effort for their coach to get revenge.
They ain't worried about that.
No?
They're worried about winning the game.
Yeah, of course. But if you're really close with your coach, don't you want to rally around them?
That is not going to matter, Jack.
Yeah, it's not like college.
Fangio's been there 1 year, not even a year yet.
Yeah.
Listen, when the Jets played the Broncos late in the year, I think the 5th game of the season, had Aaron Rodgers been healthy, he would have been a tiny bit more motivated because of the things that Sean Payton said about Paul Hackett, his offensive coordinator.
Well, they'll find out next week, right? It's next week.
Yes, we will. Carolina and Seattle, guys. Any way Carolina beats Seattle in Seattle?
No.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Matt, you asked us opening
that
game,
line is telling me something.
Rams beat Seattle, and we said no at the time, and the Rams won, so who knows?
Yeah, well.
Carolina's starting Andy Dalton, correct?
Correct.
I think that's – I think that there's something funny going on with this line. I don't know why. Like I said, when there's a 5 line, when like 6, 7, 3, 4 makes sense to me. When there's a 5 or a 5.5 point line, that's an underdog line. And something's going on there that's making me think that Carolina has more of a chance here going into Seattle to win this game. Maybe Seattle's looking past them. Maybe they think they can just win this game. And who Seattle got next week, I don't even know. But I think that there is a chance that Carolina does upset the Seahawks.
But isn't the line for, I don't think Tampa Bay is going to win, but they got a 5+5 line, correct? On Philadelphia, what Philadelphia has the 5+5, right?
Yeah, 5.5. That's again same situation. I mean, you heard that I am not 100% confident on this week.
Yeah, but I don't think Tampa Bay's got a chance.
Pags, that's Pags. You know how people don't like 666.
I listen from your lips to God's ears, but I mean.
Yeah, so Pags, so bettors out there. Bettors, if you see 5.5,
a 5-point line is not a common line.
No,
it's not a common line in football. It's not a common line. So when that line comes out there, that means that somebody in Vegas is unsure about what's going on, and that there is. And you look back. I mean, I read something a couple of weeks ago. When you have lines of 5 and 5.5, the underdog wins like 62% of the time. So it's weird that somebody's done that type of research.
We'll track that, Bags.
But
I'll track. Yeah, let's track that and see if that.
Are we talking about Seattle winning or covering the points? Because when we analyze it, we're talking about who wins. We're not talking about who's covering the points.
Right. But Pags thinks because of the 5.5 that they have a better chance of winning for some reason. So that's what he's talking about. So that's what we're going to follow. We'll check it out. And
well, they don't have a bad defense, the Panthers, and with Andy Dalton. At this point in time, he's a tiny bit better fit than having in Bryce Young because he's a veteran, knows a little more at this point. Well, and Carolina, I thought was going to actually win their division. That was my preseason prediction, which isn't looking good now. So maybe like you guys are saying, it's a couple of weeks to get yourself in shape, and maybe they'll take off.
Yeah, it's going to be about 89.
Seattle should win at Seattle. I mean, they're the better team.
It's out west, so we'll see.
You say it's going to be 90 degrees in Seattle?
No, I'm talking about Philly and Tampa Bay. I'm Philly and Tampa Bay because it's at Tampa Bay, and it's going to be an 89.
Oh, but that's a 7:30 game. That's a 7:30 game.
So that shouldn't matter
tomorrow. It'll be about 74, and the rain is supposed to be out by then. At least that's what I was told.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock.
We got Dallas going to Arizona. Is there any way in any conception anybody hears that Dallas loses to Arizona? Is there any way?
There's always a way. I think Dallas will win.
Realistically. I know anybody can do
that. Dobbs almost beat him at Tennessee last year. If you remember.
Ask yourself this question, and Jim is the only one who's played the NFL here, but if we were all players at the present time, and there was one team we had to pick we didn't want to go to, we can only name one team to eliminate, otherwise we could be sent anywhere. Wouldn't Arizona be the one team?
At this point, I would say yes. I would say yes. You wouldn't want to go to Arizona.
It would be a nightmare.
But
Cowboys should beat them in a rout.
Yeah. So here's the one thing that I say about Arizona when it goes up against the Cowboys, because that line changed. That went up another 1.5. It's now 13.5 where it started at 12 just a few minutes ago. So the fact that Gannon is their coach and he is familiar with the Cowboys for the last couple of years by being the Eagles defensive coordinator, I think that there are some of that's going to be able to transfer over. I think that if the Cowboys are sniffing themselves and they're looking beyond Arizona begins to have a chance. But what I don't trust is that Arizona wants to finish the job. I really believe Arizona wants to lose these games. They do not care, and they could come out real strong. They could go up 24 points on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys come back and win. And just like the Giants did, I felt like the second half, that the Cardinals came out and said, "Oh, we're fine. We don't want to do anything else." And the Giants were able to score all those points. And I think that that could also happen here a little bit because the Cowboys come in again, sleepwalking through because we were going to just walk all over this team. And they come out and they score some points. And then in the second half, they come back and win the game. So I think the Cowboys win, but I think that it could be closer than people think just because of what's happened in the past. Like I said, Gannon was an Eagle last year. He's familiar with this offense. He's familiar with the Cowboys more familiar than most other coaches are.
But the problem is that Kellen Moore is at the Chargers. This offense is a little different from what Moore ran. It's more conservative as opposed to where Moore was more gadgets. And McCartney is trying to do certain things. And actually, CeeDee Lamb is off to a good start. They got to get more receivers involved, and Tony Pollard is surprisingly playing pretty well. But they do have 3 offensive linemen that are questionable. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
Are you concerned, Jim, that they're not finishing drives?
To a certain point, I am,
Jim,
that they're not finishing drives. But I think, as you said before, this is their preseason. So as the season progresses, they will finish drives. I think right now they're just really finding out what they can do well.
I think that's a lot of teams right now. Even the teams that are undefeated have changed up a little bit. As we said, the Eagles are running the ball more, and the Cowboys are running the ball a little bit more, and their defense is a little bit more exciting than it was last year.
And if you remember at the beginning of the year, I said that everybody was talking about the AFC East. The NFC East still, everybody in the NFC East has gotten better. So nobody stayed the same. And I kept saying that. Everybody was talking about it. But these teams are pretty darn good in the NFC East. And not saying the AFC East, but you see what's happening now.
Yeah, I agree. We got Pittsburgh going up to the Raiders is an interesting game to me. Everybody, I've talked about Pickett's in the past. I never thought he would be a great quarterback. I think he's just a good, maybe a good quarterback. He's having a lot of problems this year. Pittsburgh's a little upset with their offense. What do you guys think? Do you think they can go into Vegas and beat the Raiders?
The Steelers are a better team, but I think the Raiders are going to win. If you saw the Raider-Buffalo game, the first possession of the game last week, the Raiders just took the ball all the way down the field and scored, and then they just tapped out basically for the rest of the game. Steelers somehow haven't gotten their complete footing. They beat a Cleveland Brown team that has their own problems now. I think the Steelers will be fine, but I think, it might take a couple more games yet. I like the Raiders in that one.
I kind of like the Raiders, too. I don't think they're a great team, but I think Pittsburgh is struggling. This might be the season that Mike Tomlin doesn't go over 500.
We shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I think, but I think that the Raiders are still a mess. I don't believe I don't trust the Raiders yet. And until that happens, I agree that I think Tomlin does not go 500 this year, but I also believe that the Raiders are a worse franchise. So I think that the Steelers will win this game.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't count Tomlin out. He may win the last 7 games. Get that 500.
But I just see they're struggling offensively.
Oh, they are. They are.
It's the game for them.
They are, Jim. But there's a lot of teams right now struggling that will get to 500. I'm not going to count one of the best coaches in football out yet.
Yeah.
Chicago against Kansas City. And of course, nobody picked this. Chicago having, as we discussed earlier, a lot of problems with their run. Their quarterback is having problems. They're not letting him run the ball. They're making him sit in the pocket. He doesn't know what to do. And going up against Kansas City, that seemed to, I don't want to say right the ship, but they got a win underneath them. Good defensive play, decent offensive play. They still got a ways to go too. Anyway, Unless Fields just runs for 500 yards, is there any way Chicago beats the Kansas City Chiefs?
No.
No, I can't see it unless they get a bunch of turnovers. Last week when Kansas City won, Patrick Mahomes, you could sense he meant what he said. They need a lot of work on offense, just the pieces. Kansas City, they'll get there. They'll make it work. And Kansas City should get better as the year goes along. And the Bears seem to be a bit of a mess.
Do the Chargers ever win the AFC West?
Wow.
God. Holy God.
That is a big game. Both teams are 0-2, them and the Vikings. I'm assuming you're going to that game, Matt, because you mentioned the Chargers. And it's a must-win. To go to 0-3, that's demoralizing. That is a major hole, you're 0-3. You could go 0-2, then you start your charge and come back like your Giants did, winning a Super Bowl after starting 0-2. You go 0-3, you are in a very bad hole. And it's going to be ugly for either the Vikings or Chargers by the end of the day.
Yep. Well said. So, guys, we're going to
and that's why I think that when they go 0-3, the Vikings, Kirk Cousins becomes a New York Jet.
I knew that was coming.
It is not becoming a New York Jet unless something has to happen. We always have to blame someone for loss. And Zach Wilson is always going to get the blame unless he plays an obviously good game. He's always going to. The Jet defense didn't really show up against the Cowboys fully. They didn't have a good game. Sauce Gardner, his first 2 games, he hasn't been the player he's been last year. He's been quite average. Okay? And so Zach Wilson gets the blame. Look, he didn't perform well in the second half last week, but the whole team didn't really perform well.
He's been weak sauce.
He's
been weak sauce.
Well, with that said, guys, I think it's going to be ugly for the Jets at the end of the week. I like the Patriots to beat the Jets 17-14 as much as I hate.
All right, there you go. Jack's doing reverse psychology, picking his team to lose.
Jack,
I know what he's doing.
Quick.
I got to be honest, the Bill Belichick defense putting on Zach Wilson, it's going to be hard. The Jet defense is going to have to come up with an enormous effort today.
I think they will.
Well, we shall see. Folks, we're at the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us. The Mac, Jack, and Jim Big Football Show with all our guests, including the Philly sports guy who's here. Tomorrow, Roku exclusive, me and Pags will be doing a weekly morning show on Monday, called It's a Wrap. So join us over there on Roku. Thanks for joining us today, folks. I hope you have a great Sunday. And I hope your team wins.
Scored 90 points. Shanahan's a great play caller. They've got athletes all over the field. The defense is really good. 42 points in 3 games. And the 0-2 team is the Cardinals, and that's for real. They are probably, I think they're the worst team in football. Game a little closer than it needed to be last week with the Giants. In my survivor pools, it may be whoever plays Arizona every week will be my pick. I think I'm taking Dallas in the survivor pools today. What do we got here? Good morning, Bill Pulver. Good to see you. Billy's a survivor. That's the other one I couldn't think of. Hadn't the Bills. Not sure. Oh, I think CA's yeah. CA. How do you get an extra NT in? Missing it is what I do. Anyway, let's get to the games today until we can move on to some Major League Baseball. We'll see what other news is going on in the NFL. I'm sure Drew's lock and loaded for Major League Baseball. Let's get to the games here. Going to give you my games. Sorry, Billy. We're going to start with the Patriots at the Jets, -2.5. Probably going to be some weather in this game. Mac Jones against the Jet defense, which is really good. Zach Wilson against Bill Belichick in that New England defense, which has played well. The Patriots have played well enough to win both games. Shoot themselves in the foot with some stupid penalties here and there, falling behind consistently. I don't see them falling behind here. Mac Jones has played well enough to win these 2 games. He's not the reason they're 0-2. I'm still confident in this team. Again, I said before, this team could be 2-4, which is very possible, and I would expect them to still make the playoffs. Titans and Browns. Titans visiting the Browns. Cleveland's 3.5. I'm going to have to take the criminally led Browns in this game minus the 3.5. The Lions at home against the Falcons minus 3.5. This is an interesting game. I'm going to take the points in the Falcons in this game. Just again, Jared Goff played pretty well. The defense still leaves a little to be desired, but Bijan Robinson's played well. Ritter's played well enough. I'm going to take the Falcons on the road here. I like the Packers at home -1 against the Saints, who are 2-0. So I think we see one of those 2-0 teams go away today. The Broncos are 6-point underdogs at Miami. I'd love to jump all over the Broncos here because I thought they would be a better team than they are right now with Sean Payton there, and I thought Russell Wilson would take well to Sean Payton. Has not happened yet. I'll take the Dolphins at home -6. The Chargers go to Minnesota. Chargers a big disappointment at 0-2. Coach out there, Jeff, name is escaping me all of a sudden. Hadley is going to be in trouble. He's in trouble. They're still without Eckler. Kirk Cousins has played really good football in these 2 games, thrown for 708 yards already, 6 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. He is not the problem here in Minnesota. Defense needs to play better. And by the way, Jefferson also on fire with over 309 yards receiving so far. The Bills go to the Commanders. Bills are -5.5. I'll take the Bills here, but the Commanders, one of those surprising 2-0 teams, might give them a tussle here. We could see weather, by the way, in New Jersey. I don't know why they're called the New York Jets. You can ask the state of New Jersey and the state of New York why they allow that. That's up to you. I don't understand it myself. Weather problems there, probably weather problems in D.C. And up some other places on the coast. So we'll see how that affects these games. But I like the Bills today. The demise of the Bills is greatly overrated in my mind. And you guys feel free to add your comments, and I will jump into them after this. So any of your comments about these games or other stuff with the NFL, and then we'll wrap up the NFL portion and move on to some MLB talk or whatever you guys want to chat about. Texans will travel to the Jaguars -7.5. I like the Jags here -7.5. This might be a bet for me today. I just don't like the Texans, as Drew mentioned earlier. The running game's awful. The weapons that CJ Stroud has got to throw to are not that good. Although Nico Collins does have 13 receptions for 226 yards in 2 games. So he's the big surprise of this season for him. And CJ Stroud has thrown for a couple touchdowns and 600 yards. But you can't rely on your rookie quarterback this way. The Ravens and the Colts, as we said, Anthony Richardson is out. Baltimore's 8 in this game. I'm going to have to take the 8, or lay the 8, and I don't even know who's playing quarterback for the Colts, and I don't care. The one team that will be a bet for me today are the Seahawks, -5 against the Panthers. Geno Smith, 440 yards and 3 touchdowns so far, and Metcalf with 9 catches on the season. I like the Seahawks. My Super Bowl pick, sticking with them. Bears, total disarray. As I said, defensive coordinator resigns, FBI all over his house, all over supposedly Hallis Hall. Josh Fields not on the same page with the coaches, calls them out in the press conference on Monday, said, "You're going to see me play my game." We'll see how that works out today. You can't turn Josh Fields into a pocket quarterback. I can tell that. If you're not going to let him do his thing, then there's probably no reason to have him on the field. I like the Chiefs -12.5 here. The Cowboys will go to the Cardinals. Cardinals are awful, -13. I'll take the Cowboys less the points. They're going to roll it up again, and the Cowboy fans are going to get really excited at 3-0, and we're going to see how that plays out. The Steelers go to the Raiders, and I find this an interesting game. Kenny Pickett, who's been getting ripped, he has thrown 3 interceptions on the year, but he also led this team to a win over the criminally led Browns last Monday night. A short week. They do get the 8:00 start at the Raiders. I'm taking the points in Pittsburgh in this game. They're getting 2.5. I will take those points. I'm just not sold on the Raiders. Thursday, we already saw. We lost. We know the 49ers just rolled over the Giants. Ugly. 2 games again Monday night. I think this is the last Monday night with 2 games at 7:16. The Eagles will play the Bucks, and I think the Bucks they'll come crashing to earth, similar to the Colorado Buffaloes yesterday. Phillies 5 on the road here. I'll lay the 5 points, and I think that the Eagles will probably hold this team to very few points. Although Baker Mayfield, as I said, has played pretty well. Mike Evans wanting that new contract. If this team were to play badly, could be a midseason trade potential, but he's got 12 receptions already for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Rams and Bengals, I'm a little worried here because the Rams have played better than expected, especially with a win at Seattle. Bengals 0-2. Big worries about Burrow and his calf, and then, to me, if they keep running him out there, it's possible they run the potential of Aaron Rodgers type situation. But at the same time, they need to win football games and need to start winning them quickly. And without Joe Burrow, I'm not sure they can do that. So he'll be a game time decision. I'm going to take the Bengals minus the 2.5 regardless. So let's see what we got here. I see a comment already that's making me laugh a little bit. That's it. When you see the clip in the Fantasy Football League chat, you'll know. Thanks for the idea, which will be soon. It's interesting. I'm not sure what the idea was. The Fantasy Football League I think I'm off to a 2-0 start. Bill Pulver, this is Zach's day. We win. I wouldn't expect you to pick against your team. Nor would I pick. I did pick against my team against the Eagles. I just think 14 in a row you've lost. You've got that monkey on your back. Zach Wilson has not been able to figure it out. Zach Wilson needs to slow the game down. The game still has not slowed down for him. And I thought he'd be a really good NFL quarterback. I really did. He still might be. And I think we might find out about Aaron Rodgers and what kind of teammate he is, depending on what he does the rest of this year, when he can, to help Rodgers out. And talk is that he has been communicating with Rodgers and coaching him up, via satellite, if you will. Dave Guyette just heard that the Jets game is canceled because of the storm. Someone said they heard it on the news. I have not heard that. Has anybody else heard that? Let me go to... I just refreshed my NFL news. I don't have that. Anybody else got anything on the Pats-Jets game? We'll find out. I'm looking for news. We got a forecast. Wet and windy afternoon. The game will be bad. It'll be sloppy. It is not canceled. So I think that you got some bad information there, Dave. Merle, as we get ready to move into baseball, the Marlins, who are in the thick of a playoff race, lose 2 of their best pitchers done for the year, Alcantara and Yuri Perez. Acuna goes 40 for 40. I have that on my 5th player ever, by the way, to do that. The other 5, let's see, who are the other 5? And we'll go back to some Major League Baseball talk, or NFL talk, if you do have one. More. Who's in that 40 for 40 club? Canseco's in it. See if I can do it without looking. I'm not looking yet. I think Bobby Bonds fell just short. Boy, all I got is Canseco. Who is part of this club? Jose Canseco. Barry Bonds should have got that one. A-Rod. Alfonso Soriano is not a guy I would have picked to be in this club. Congrats to Acuna, by the way. Great player. National League MVP without a doubt. Without a doubt. Kershaw passes Drysdale and Dodger wins. Drysdale had a short career, though, too. By the way, that's no small accomplishment today because, players aren't winning 20 games a season the way they did back in Drysdale's day. Texas all in on DeGrom, Scherzer, and it's Montgomery who saves their butts. And he may resign there, too. I wouldn't be surprised if he resigns there. And the Rangers, by the way, I tried to bury him a couple times. The most important part of the season, and they win 4 straight games. Still got a big stretch of games to go here, and we'll look at that in a second. But kudos to the Rangers. Everything's flip-flops, and we talked on Friday, Drew. Rangers are in, Mariners are out. I think the National League slipped too. I got to get the schedule up or the standings up, but I want to make sure that we could rant about what happened to Moist Towelettes at KFC. I really missed them. This is definitely a stream of consciousness topic, but I will say Moist Towelettes have gone away almost at all of these establishments. I don't get them anywhere I go out and have wings. I think I might have got them at Buffalo Wild Wings here a couple weeks ago. But the recovery room I used to go to, they stopped giving them out. Smoky Bones, I think they gave them out. Actually, they didn't last time we were there, but my wife had kept some from the last time we were there. So, excellent point, CA, and I think something that needs to be brought to the attention of the country. State of Texas up, people. Yeah. Astros right now clinging to the last playoff spot. I boldly stated and backed up my and doubled down, I guess, on my preseason prediction that it would be Astros and Mariners and that the Rangers would be left out. It's not looking quite as likely now for sure. So let's dive into that, by the way. So anyway, talking about the let me put the right banner up since we've changed topics here. Where are we? 10 after 11. We can go a few minutes late if we have to. By the way, so yes, we're going to look at the some teams have clinched, some teams have are still fighting. We talked about Acuna going 40 for 40. Congratulations to him. Great season. That's a great accomplishment. One of the underrated things in baseball. Aaron Judge, in the midst of a horrible Yankees season, sets a Yankee record by hitting 3 home runs in a game for the second time this year. Look at Aaron Judge has had a great season. If he had not, and I'm not telling you that if he had not missed a month and a half, 2 months, pretty much, the Yankees would be in this because it was always a very flawed team. But for Aaron Judge's sake, it's a shame that he missed it. And it's a freak injury too, by the way. So, good stuff there. What do you got here? Yeah, we missed a few here. Oh, I got Don Play here. Don Play's looking for some picks, I'm sure. Pat's -2.5 for who's ML at -150? Oh, money line. I might bet the money line here. I like the game. It's possible. It's very possible it's going to be 1 or 2 point game. I like the Pats a lot. I would probably bet the money line here to be safe. The Chargers win today, you think? I like Minnesota -1 at home here, Don. You're the only man I know has good information. Thanks, Don. I mean, maybe I should be charging for this stuff. How much is it worth to you to continue to give you picks, my friend? Kidding you. I'll give you picks. Last night I lost my parlay on Wake Forest -7. They suck. Just to give you my prowess yesterday was very good. Didn't look great. I had Notre Dame +3.5. I had Florida State -2.5. I had Washington State +3.5 at home. Those were my straight up bets. And then just for fun, I bet up a parlay on DraftKings, Texas and over in the USC game, and we won that. So a really good day yesterday. So I'm sure I'll go over today in the NFL. Dooley here. Chris Dulich, how are you, buddy? Good to have you with us. You need a 1 o'clock lock, straight up survivor. Already used Raiders and KC, have 2 picks. Dallas. This one's easy. I'll be on Dallas in both my survivor pools, Dulich. Good to have you with us, though. Thanks for joining the show. Love to have new viewers and hope you're doing well. Good friend of my good friend Mark's son Chris. Dulich is well known around the Amsterdam area, but Dallas. I don't think Detroit's really a lock today for this. And it's been a tough 3 weeks in survivor pools. I'll tell you, the one I'm in that's the big entry and it's worth over $100,000. They lost. I think close to half the pool is out already. So, and we're still alive. So I'm going with Dallas in that one. I'm going Dallas in a smaller one than I'm in as well. Philly ready to wrap up their postseason spot. They've pretty much been in, I think. And Padres did streak. They did make a good run, the Padres, here at the end, but they're probably done. Excuse me, Jesus. Sorry about that. Pirates playing spoilers against the Reds. Yeah, Ross, the manager for the Cubs, David Ross didn't have to. He apologized for some comments he made about the Pirates after they lost, I think, 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. That, they're not a better team than us. We can't be losing games to teams like the Pirates. What's wrong? Why can't we just speak what we want? Why you got to apologize? Royals win 5 in a row to avoid the A's. The A's win 2 in a row to try to quiet Keaton. The A's let me down big time this year. I really, really thought they were going to make a run at that 121 loss record, but they didn't do it. Dooley, I already got you, Dulich. I went back to you somehow. Sorry about that. Anthony Rendon, I do remember him. Remember when he was a good player? Injured for the 1,316th time to close the season. Drew has been, I got to tell you, Drew's been really good with the comedy this week, I have to tell you. Since last Sunday, he's been on a roll. Got to love it. Any other information you need, Duelist, you just let me know. Please like and share the show. Go to TJ Sports Talk and invite your friends if you would. And join us join us Wednesday nights for the college football huddle. We do all the picks there as well for college football. And on Fridays, we do the NFL. So let's get back to the Major League Baseball. Drew caught us up on much of the news. Let's look at the standings while we have a second. Let's look at we had clinchers. Milwaukee clinched Friday night in a laugher against the Marlins, 16-1, I think was the final. Their first baseman, Tellez, was the pitcher on the mound. You don't often see a position player on the mound for the wrap-up, or the division clincher, and he happened to be on the mound for that. So they wrapped up their division. The Twins wrapped up their division. No surprises there. Baltimore and Tampa Bay have been having a great series here, and still 1.5 games as we head into the deciding game today. And we talked about the American League West, which is kind of flip-flopped very quickly. The Astros now a 1.5 games behind the Rangers, who have won 4 in a row, while the Astros and Mariners both have lost their last couple games. And the Astros going 3-7 in their last 10. So they've got a 1.5 game lead, and the Mariners have fallen 2 games behind. Now, don't forget, there's a bunch of games left between the Rangers and the Mariners, too. So this is going to be an interesting fight right down to the wire. We mentioned Milwaukee wrapping it up. The Cubs have now fallen out of that race. And obviously the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Braves and Dodgers had already wrapped up their divisions prior to this. The wild card standings, though, the American League, now the Mariners are on the outside looking in. The Astros are now a wild card participant and only a 1/2 game ahead of the Mariners. The Blue Jays holding on to that second spot. Rays have clinched their spot in the postseason, as we talked about. And the Phillies are very close in the National League. Yankees still have not been eliminated yet. Judge will continue to play. Judge, it looks like, will get shut down once the Yankees are officially eliminated, which could come as soon as today. But the Yankees, again, 78-76, trying to keep that record of would be 31 straight seasons over 500, trying to chase down the Montreal Canadiens, who did it 39 years in a row as the best records in major sports. We'll see how that goes. I think it's something to keep interest anyway. I remember with my latest predictions a few weeks ago, I had said the Rays were in, obviously. I had the Astros winning the West, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays getting the remaining wild cards that may now be in trouble. In the National League, the Phillies, as Drew said, about to wrap it up, could come as soon as today. They won 4 in a row. There's no streakier team in baseball than this Philly team. They get hot in the playoffs, just like last year. They could do anything. I'll get to these comments here in a second, too. Diamondbacks with just a half-game lead over the Cubs. I said the Cubs would fall out of this, fall behind the Marlins, but they're hanging tough. Won their last 2. They hold on to that last spot by just a game over the Marlins. The Reds now 2.5 back. It's going to get tougher for the Reds as they got 2 teams ahead of them now. And the Giants theoretically still in it at 4. The Padres not officially eliminated at 5. Even the Pirates are still alive at 7 games back. Pirates playing some game baseball. I'll give them credit. But, you know, you got to make a playoff sooner or later. Where are you, Mark Mancini? Where are we, Drew? I don't see where we left off. That's the one we left off on. I think Anthony. Oh, that's the one we left off on. On the fantasy baseball playoff side, nobody cares. Just kidding. Drew beat me out by a game, 1 game last week. If you remember, I was talking about our great race we had going on for the 4th and final spot in the playoffs. My team imploded the last 2 days, and Drew just came from well behind to take me by a game. So congratulations to him. Rick and Rick Sherlock, our own Rick Sherlock, are beating the crap out of each other. Going down to the last day, the matchup tied 10-10 for a place in the final. Good luck to you both. I will not pick a side and alienate either one of you, at least not on the air. Go, Rick. Oh, sorry. Just kidding. Just kidding, Drew. CA, H-Town, Seattle, Tampa, Arizona, Cincinnati win today. Maybe I'll put that parlay in for $10 or something. I ought to pay some money. CA with that call there. What else did we miss in baseball today or around anywhere? What else is going on in sports we didn't talk about? I guess I got my survivors right. It's Billy, CA, and Anthony. Is that right? I hope. Rangers are hot again. We talked about that. Good job by them, I got to tell you. Alcantara done. We talked about Acuna done. Talked about Rowdy Tellez pitching. We just checked the Athletic. They often have something for us to talk about. If not, we're going to probably wrap it up a little bit early. I do have some company still here, and I got to leave in a little bit. But looks a great. What a great weekend! I love late September, middle to late September into October, because we've got baseball pennant races, soon to be playoff races. We've got college football in full gear now. We're getting into conference play, which makes it even more exciting. We've got the NFL swinging into hopefully starting to play better games now that, you know, we've played a few real games and get past some of the injuries and whatnot. But there's no better time for sports than this time. Next week, a couple of program reminders. So we will be on live Wednesday from the studio with the College Football Huddle at 7 p.m. Catch us on TGI Sports Talk, Northeast Streaming Sports. Let's talk sports. Excuse me. Jeepers. On I lost my train of thought. The Are You Serious show will be on hiatus the next 2 weeks. I'll try to do something. Carlos is not with us today. I haven't even informed Carlos, but we start vacation in the morning. I've got to get the cat to the vet. I'll probably be on with Mac and Jack at 9 o'clock for a bit. But I got to finish up my work week, and we are leaving on vacation, which means the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, the next 2 Sundays, I will find a way to get on the air. But we will not be on probably at 8:30. It'll probably be hit and miss. So watch. I'll try to put an announcement out before I'm going to go live, just so you guys know if you want to come participate. It'll be hit and miss. I won't be terribly prepared, but we'll just play off your comments and topics. So make sure you come prepared the next couple of Sundays, and we'll find a way to spend a few minutes together. Next Sunday, for sure, we can't do it in the morning because I'll be on an airplane, I believe. No, I won't. I'll be in a hotel room. We'll be heading to the port. Maybe when I get on the ship, we'll do a show for an hour or so. We'll see how that goes. I also got a football game to get ready for while we're on the ship. So there is that. What do you got here? Max Kellerman. Oh, I thought you said Max Kellerman. Max Verstappen wins his 13th race in F1. Not quite sure why other teams continue to participate. I have no idea who he is or that he had won 13 in a row, but congratulations to him. Auto racing, never something I got into and something we don't talk a lot about here, but I'm happy to report the stories that as they happen. So good job to him. Congratulations to him. Just looking at some other sports outside of the Newscript streaming again like last year. I will try to do my best, and hopefully we'll see how the internet is on the Celebration, one of the newer ships, so we'll see whether it's any better or worse. I know sometimes, like Rick will tell me it's really good, and then I'll go back and I'll watch the show after, and I go, oh my God, that was awful. But we'll play it by ear. So yes, at some point during the day, the next 2 Sundays, because Sunday I'll be on the ship. The following Sunday we'll be traveling home, but we'll find some time. I'm sure I got some airport time to sit and do an hour or whatever. Probably got plenty of it actually. So we'll be on it sometime. I'll give you guys an update during the week. I'll come on ad hoc. I may even we'll do our Major League Baseball update next Friday, by the way, Drew, just so you know, from the studio. And the following week, we'll try to do something ad hoc there as well, on the fly, as it were. Wi-Fi quality on the ships depends on how much Keith has had to drink. Drew continues his comedy tour. You can see Drew here every Sunday morning at 8:30 to 10:30. He'll be here all week. That's a good one, actually. I try to do the shows before I've had too much to drink, but there's been a couple times. The next Michael Schumacher. Now, that name I know, but it's been a while since Michael Schumacher raced, right? Schumacher, I suppose would be the right way to say his name. I mean, if we want to talk about other sports, Tigist Asafa shatters women's marathon record in Brooklyn. She ran it in 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 53 seconds, beating the previous record by nearly 3 minutes, at least 2.5 minutes, except by, no surprise, a Kenyan, Brigid Kosigi. I should probably not get into these names, I'm guessing, right? So there's some interesting news that we don't normally talk about here. By the way, there was a new sport last night I saw on ESPN. I talked about the championships of pillow fighting that we saw about a month ago, foot golf. Last night, it was the air hockey championships, which I loved playing air hockey when I was a kid. Did not know there were professionals in air hockey any more than I knew that there were professional pillow fighters. The next Sam Kinison. I'm going to be the next Sam Kinison, man. That's a good one. Excellent. We're going to end it with that. It's a great line. Oh, God. Well, listen, guys, great show. As you guys always help carry this show along, Drew, CA, Billy, Anthony, Kenny, Rick, Dooley, thanks for showing up today. Who'd I miss? Don, hope we gave you some winners today. And if I missed somebody, I apologize. Ian, who was with us earlier from Australia, our big Australian collaborate. Let the hair grow out. Grow that hair. I'm getting a haircut before I go. I can't. I gotta have a cruise cut, man. Low maintenance. All right, guys. You have a great Sunday. Enjoy the football. I'll be off to watch the Jets and Patriots from my favorite watering hole. Wish us luck. And Godspeed. Have a great Sunday, guys.